Marvel spoiler season is officially over, and we're gonna be getting those cards soon. Boy howdy, there are a lot of legendary creatures. So many, ha ha ha. I don't know how many there are because I am recording this on May 29th, so that Corey has time to get ahead of the edits and doesn't have to edit me talking about, I don't know, like 50 legendary cards. But first I need to talk about my Patreon. It's the best place to support the channel. There is a reason that every creator has a Patreon. It's because YouTube does not pay enough to have people live. It's me and Corey is the editor who edits these videos and makes these happen, and I have to record these videos, and we both have to live and we have to pay rent. And $1, $2, $5 on the Patreon, that's how we can afford to do that. So please support us there so that we can keep making these videos, and you get to join a Discord where we play Commander together on Saturdays. I'll probably build a Marvel Commander or two. I don't know which one yet, but we'll find out, won't we? Because today we're going to start talking with Captain America Super Soldier. For 3 mana, you get a 3/2 with first strike and a shield counter. And as long as Captain America has a shield counter on it, you and other heroes you control have hexproof. Pairing a first strike and shield counter with Captain America is pretty good. It means that if Captain America kills something on that first strike, the shield counter doesn't get touched. However, a 3/2 first strike with a shield counter on it is not a great commander. This is more something that I think would be good in the 99 of commander decks. Obviously, we're going to get a lot more hero support in this set, but the fact that it's limited to just heroes kind of limits it a lot, in my opinion. And I'm going to put Captain America down in D tier, I think. Sure, you can proliferate that shield counter up, and you can get other heroes that are then hexproof, but yeah, I don't know. That's just not all that great of an effect to put onto a commander. Put it in the 99 of a Parry the Pulverizer, one of my favorite decks that counts on having a bunch of different weird types of counters and proliferating them up, and I think you've got something a little more valuable, but as it stands on its own, not the best. Now, Sentry Golden Guardian, this one kind of cooks. It's got flying, vigilance, and indestructible, and when it enters, an opponent gets to create the Void. It's a legendary 5/5 black creature with flying and indestructible, so it is always going to be swinging. But your commander has flying, indestructible, and vigilance, so you can swing out every time and always have a blocker for that Void that is voiding out. White is a really good blinking color, so if you can blink Sentry 2 times, that means each opponent, all 3 of your opponents, will have a Void that is swinging in the air and has to swing each combat if able. Building around Blink in mono white is very fun. I think this is a really, really fun commander, and just a 5/5 vigilant flyer is pretty great, especially with that indestructible. So I'm going to say this is an A tier. This is a very solid mono white commander. Atuma Atlantean Warlord is very simple. It gives other merfolk you control +1/+1, and whenever a merfolk you control attacks a player, you get to draw a card. They don't have to do damage. I think that's very important. So that just means if you can build up a bunch of merfolk token on the board, you should be able to draw 3 cards per combat. That's pretty darn spicy. This would be better if it had red, so that you could also get extra combats. Blue is not great at getting extra combats, which kind of limits the amount of value you can get from this. And if those merfolk die, you need to make more merfolk. Oh no, in blue, how will we ever make merfolk? This isn't that bad, but there are some limitations to it. I do wish it had another color. I'll put it in B tier. And speaking of B, this next commander has 2 of them. It's Bruce Banner. You can pay 2X and tap it to draw X cards, activate only as a sorcery. It's a 1-drop blue, so you get to start your game plan early. And I don't know, a mono blue commander, it just doesn't really appeal to me. I wish it did a little bit more. Oh no, what's this? You can pay 2 red and 2 green and transform it into the Hulk. The Hulk has reach. The Hulk has trample. Why does it have reach? Is it like to throw stuff? Hulk's kind of bad at dealing with flyers. If there's anything that counters Hulk, I think it's kind of someone who could just fly out of his range. I know he's a good jumper, but like, you know, just kind of move. He's only moving in one direction, and if you have aerial mobility, whatever, it's fine. Whenever the Hulk is dealt damage, you put a +1/+1 counter on him, and then you untap him if he is attacking, and there's another combat phase after this. This pairs so well with the card Caltrops that it caused the card Caltrops to spike up to $22 when it was announced. boost, because Caltrops does 1 damage to each attacking creature, which means infinite combats and an infinitely large trampling Hulk. It is now settled down to $7, but still, that is a very silly, busted combo. It also means that blocking Hulk is not a great idea. You just make it angry, and then you have to block again, kind of similar to the Quakamole. Ansrog the Quakamole, of course, from Karlov Manor, a commander that gets blocked and then attacks again and does more damage. This is probably better than that, because it's an 8/8, and it has blue because of Bruce Banner, old Blues Banner, as you would say, giving you counter spells, negate, an offer you can't refuse, fierce guardianship, ways to protect your commander so it doesn't get removed as it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and gonna one-shot someone with commander damage. Yeah, I think the Hulk's kind of strong. Hot take. The Hulk is strong. I'm going to put that up in S tier. That's a really, really good one. Does Namor the Submariner imply the existence of Namor the Cheesesteak Mariner? You thought I was going to say, we're not making that joke either. Flying! That's his mutant power, so of course he's got flying. His power is equal to the number of merfolk you control, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell with 1 or more blue mana in its pips, you get to make a 1/1 blue merfolk token. This seems like it would pair pretty well with that other merfolk commander, Attuma, almost like these two should work together. I bet they get along great in the comics. Attuma is a villain for Namor. Although Namor is like a villain now, they're making Namor a villain. He was always just like an ass. He was always just like a jerk. But now they're like, he's like evil. And I'm like, I don't know about that. But yeah, for 3 mana, 4 toughness on a body, and then you get more and more merfolk when you cast non-creature spells in blue. That seems like it's pretty good. You can build up a big old army and use that flying evasion to win through commander damage while filling your deck with no creature spells. Like, if this is the only creature spell in your deck, and you just have a bunch of small 1 or 2 drop, blue drop cantrips that draw you cards so that you can cast more spells, so that you can storm off, and then also have a giant flying Submariner. Why do they call him the Submariner when he flies over the top? They should call him the over-the-top Mariner. A tier, it's good. Could be better if it had, like, white to get some token support. I could see Azorius Namor being a thing, but mono blue works fine. I'm not saying this is bad, I'm just saying that's what's keeping it out of S, is that white has more token support, and green has more token support, and mono blue doesn't have a ton of token support. Although spark doubling this Submariner, hold on. Yeah, spark doubling the Submariner would be pretty good. Getting those changelings that become copies of creatures and making more Submariners so that every non-creature spell you cast actually makes like 3 merfolk, and all of those make the clones you made of the Submariner that aren't sacrificed to the legendary rule. Yeah, that seems like it'd be pretty good. Still A. I'm going to put it in A. There's not quite enough support for that strategy for me to put it in S, but I think that is the strategy that you would do. Do you ever see a commander that you really like and you'd really want to build, but then you remember that it's a Nazi? Baron Helmut Zemo is a really cool commander. Whenever you cast a black spell from your hand, Baron Zemo connives, and it's got a boast ability which you can activate only once per turn and only if you've attacked with a creature this turn, but the boast ability is really good. You exile any number of cards from your graveyard equaling to 15 or more black mana pips, and then you can cast 3 of those without paying their mana costs, or technically you're casting copies of those spells, but that's pretty cool. Fill your graveyard up with all the cool big black mana pip spells, and then get your huge value off of casting them basically for free as long as you can attack. Get a few mono black flyers in there who can attack without being punished, or just get stuff like Reassembling Skeleton that can attack and you don't really care about it. Hell, you can then use it to boast with for 1 of the pips. I really like this commander. I just hate that, Zemo in the comics is a Nazi. In the MCU, he's not a Nazi. He's from Sokovia. So if I'm just assuming this is the MCU version and it's not a Nazi, we can have some fun with it. I really like it. I'm going to put it in A tier, though, just because I think this is comic Zemo, and I can't put a Nazi in S tier. What if the Red Skull card's really good? That'd be bad. Well, I mean, it'd be good that it's good, but it would suck to pull up to a table and see someone be like, I'm going to play this Nazi. I mean, what a way to make yourself the arch villain of the table. Plus, Red Skull is definitely going to be Rakdos and definitely do some evil shit. So I guess it kind of works. But red flag commander. Those videos where people are like, red flag commander, green flag commander. Red flag commander, your commander's a Nazi. I wish I liked the Dr. Doom card more. When it enters, you make 2 3/3 Doom bot tokens. As long as you control an artifact, creature, or a plan, Dr. Doom is indestructible. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. life. So it's Phyrexian Arena with 2 robots with it. So you get 3 3/3s for 6 mana, which comes down to like 2 mana per 3/3. One of the 3/3s is indestructible as long as the other ones don't die, and you get in a Phyrexian Arena. It's all fine. I think I want them to have flying at least. Just Doctor Doom does so much in the comics that boiling him down to making a few Doombots, I don't know. I feel like we could have done a little bit better. I also kind of feel like 6 mana is a lot to get to. And you're kind of just spinning your wheels unless you get a Dark Ritual or something. Like, don't get me wrong, Black has ways to generate mana, but is the deck just themed around generating mana? I don't know. There's some token support in Black, but there's more token support in White. There's more token support in Green. You could have made him Golgari. He wears green cape. I guess no, because he does kind of ravage the lands, so that's not very green. Yes, it is actually. Sacking lands, that's a green strategy. Yeah, you know, he should destroy lands, and I don't know, he should just do more stuff. I don't think it's terrible. I'm gonna put it in B tier. I just wish it was like a little bit spicier. Now, Super Scroll, I love. It costs 4 mana, 3 black pips is kind of a lot to do, but it's a 4/5 with flying. And then it's got an activated ability for each member of the Fantastic Four that Super Scroll copies the abilities of. For 2 and a white, you can make a 0/4 colorless wall token to block with Sue's Barriers. For 3 and a green, you can say it is clobbering time, and Super Scroll gets +4/+4 until end of turn. For 4 and a red, Super Scroll deals 4 damage to target creature, letting you get your flame on so you can burn some shit. And finally, for 5 and a blue, target player draws 4 cards. It's kind of like Kenrith the Returned King. You can just build a very mid-range deck around this, or you can build it all about activating activated abilities. Get things like Agatha of the Soul Cauldron, Agatha's Soul Cauldron, Zerda the Dawnwaker, Training Grounds, and reduce these costs down so that you can get a lot more done with it. I mostly just think it's a huge flavor win, and one of the only 5 color commanders I've seen that I think is actually really neat and I'd be excited to play. So I'm gonna say S tier for Super Scroll. Quicksilver Brash Blur is just one of those cards that would be better in the 99 of your deck, and it wouldn't even be very good in the 99 of your deck. It costs 1 red mana, and if you start with it in your opening hand, you can put it onto the battlefield, so it's kind of like a leyline. He's got haste, and he's a 1/1, which means that if you start with him in your opening hand, you can do 1 damage. Wow! But don't worry, you can power him up by spending 5 mana to put a +1/+1 counter and a double strike counter onto him for 5 mana as a sorcery, 1 time. It costs 1 less if he entered the battlefield this turn though. Woohoo! Which means that if you have him enter as part of your opening hand, you can't get that discount unless you can find a way to get 4 mana on turn 1 in red. I'm not saying there aren't ways to do it, but it's like those YouTube hand turns, you know, where there's the YouTube short where someone will be like, hey, I played Ancient Tomb into Soul Ring, into Mana Vault, into Arcane Signet, into blah blah blah, and I got 7 mana in my opening hand and drew the exact right 7 cards to do this. And it turns out that makes the strategy pretty good. And it's like, yeah, of course it does. Duh. If you got the nut draw, if you got the most perfect draw ever, yeah, it'd be good. Quicksilver though, even if you got that to happen, 2/2 with double strike and haste. Like, that's not bad. 2/2 with double strike and haste is not bad, but if that is the big payoff of your nut draw, like, that's sad. Also, if Quicksilver is your commander, this can't even happen because he's not in your opening hand. He's in the command zone. So you've just got a 1-drop commander, and I guess you can still play him turn 1 and he can still hit someone turn 1, but like, is that it? Is that the whole goal? F tier. I think this card's bad, and I think Quicksilver should be better because Quicksilver's really good and really strong in the comics. And like, speedsters are cool, and speedsters are my favorite, and I understand that probably making a speedster in Magic the Gathering is hard because what do you do other than put haste on it? But if you look at the Sonic the Hedgehog card, that's a pretty big win. I like that one a lot, and it like benefits having other cards with haste. I don't know. It's just a lot more interesting than like, I don't know, it's got haste, I guess. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, I think, kind of rips. I don't think it's super complicated. I don't think it's like super OP or anything. Whenever you draw your second card during each turn, it becomes Devil Dinosaur, a 6/6 with trample. instead of being a 2/2 without trample. And then also, whenever an artifact you control enters, you get to draw a card. The ability works only once per turn. So get some artifacts that got flash, find ways to give your artifacts flash, and you can have this constantly be a 6/6. Or just get any other way to draw 2 cards per turn. It's really not all that hard. Fairy Mastermind, Howling Mine, and Teferi's Ageless Insight. There you go. Now it'll happen every turn, and you'll draw 4 cards per turn. I mean, you could do that anyway, but now you'll do it with a 6/6 dinosaur. I also just like Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. I think they're neat. When I recorded a video asking for characters to be added to Marvel Rivals, Devil Dinosaur was one of the tanks I wished for, and hey, my wish came true. He's in the game, and he's fun, so go me, I guess. You're welcome, everyone who likes the Devil Dinosaur is in there, and if you don't like the Devil Dinosaur is in there, my bad, I guess. If I were to nitpick, I would say I want red. 1 for artifact support, but 2 also because Devil Dinosaur is a big angry red dinosaur, and I think that justifies putting red in there. I think Teamer would just be a little bit better of a color combo for this. As it stands, you know, Simic, it's still pretty good. And drawing your second card, like, that's a very Simic thing to be excited about. So I'll put it up in A tier. Not quite where I want it to be, but definitely still solid and definitely something worth building around. Vision is a 4-mana colorless commander. I wonder what the colorless strategy will be. Artifacts or Eldrazi? It's an artifact creature, it'll be artifacts. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. Vision gets double strike, Vision gets indestructible, draw a card. Can you play 3 artifacts in a turn? I sure hope you can. He's also got flying and vigilance. I think if you want to try and win with commander damage with that double strike, you're gonna have to try and beef him up a little bit. If only there were a way to make artifact creatures stronger in colorless. Yeah, there is. I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be solid. I think it's another solid artifact colorless commander. It's kind of one of 2 things that colorless commanders are allowed to do. And this one is doing artifacts, and it will do it fine. A tier. Now, Vision's Synthesoid Avenger is a totally different card. It's still the Vision, and it's still a 4-drop, and it still has flying, but this one's not vigilance. This one taps when it attacks. Woo! Whenever a player casts a spell, if it wasn't that player's turn, you can put a +1/+1 counter on the Vision, or it phases out. If you can get the Synthesoid Avenger to meet Liberator, Urza's Battlethopter, which gives artifact and colorless spells you control flash, you're in the money! Just cast spells on other people's turn, make Vision way bigger, hold up all of your mana until it is not your turn. Shimmer Mirror does the same thing just for artifacts, not specifically colorless spells, but let's be honest, it's going to be artifacts anyways. Skittering Cicada does the same thing for all colorless spells, so you can use that if you want. Vidalcan Ori is for all spells. So there's a few different redundancies that will let you cast your stuff as though it had flash. I don't think there are enough, though, that I would feel like super spicy about this. So I'm going to say B tier. I don't think it's necessarily super busted. Kind of more depends on your play group and how many instants they like to cast, because it is a player. It is not just you, but you can control what other players do. So whenever I'm reviewing a commander that kind of counts on other players, I kind of don't count on it. Lucky the Pizza Dog likes to eat it to pizza. Whenever you cast a hero, cat, or dog spell, you get to make a food token. Then at the beginning of each end step, if you gained life this turn, you put a +1/+1 counter on the dog. The dog don't have trample, so that does kind of slow down your win con. You gotta find a way to give it trample in green. Oh boy. So hard. Otherwise, you're going to cast a lot of cats. You're going to cast a lot of dogs. Maybe there will be a lot of mono green hero support. I mean, I'm sure there will be a ton of different hero spells, and you can cast a bunch of heroes. But I think cats and dogs are going to be the best option. More likely, though, I think this is going in the 99 of Rin and Seri Inseparable. On its own, probably like a C tier. In Rin and Seri, this is a good dog. It was always a good dog. Good dog. It's just, not like a good commander. T'Challa the Black Panther is actually the second Black Panther we have, but the first one was from a secret lair, and we're not talking about those today. So we're talking about T'Challa the Black Panther. Whenever it enters or attacks, you make a tapped Vibranium token. It is an indestructible artifact that taps for colorless mana. Whenever you cast an artifact spell with mana value 4 or greater, you put 2 +1/+1 counters onto T'Challa. So unfortunately, this one does not have like indestructible or anything to protect it. A la Vibranium, it just makes you a bunch of mana rocks that tap for colorless mana. And that's not bad. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying it's going to be a little hard to swing in with T'Challa consistently when T'Challa don't got any protection. Eventually, I think the protection plan is just, he's so big, you can't block him. We've cast so many mana value 4 or greater spells, and maybe you're casting equipment that are mana value 4 or greater, so you can Voltron up your T'Challa while you're putting the +1/+1 counters on. Not a bad strategy. I think it's just a little bit of a slow strategy to get started, so I'm going to say A tier here. There is already another Doctor Doom. I know I said I didn't like the first Doctor Doom, but this is Doctor Doom, King of Latveria. It's Grixis. Whenever you discard 1 or more land cards, each opponent loses 2 life. Unfortunately, that is 1 or more, so it's not every single land you discard. Then at the beginning of combat on your turn, target villain you control gets Menace, a little bit of evasion, and it Connives, which has you draw a card and then discard a card. If you discard a non-land card, you put a +1/+1 counter on that creature, and if you discard a land, nothing happens, except, oh wait, each opponent loses 2 life. A couple different ways you could run this. Extra combats would give you extra villains, extra conniving, so that you can put extra +1/+1 counters and discard extra lands to do extra life loss to everyone. Or Wheels. I think Wheels is cool. I like Wheels a lot, and I think Grixis is a great color to do Wheels with. I also like the idea of playing a deck that doesn't have green in it and probably putting a lot of lands in it. Because if you just run a bunch of discard and a bunch of lands, you gotta discard, what, 20 lands? That's not the hardest thing in the world to do. I guess you need 20 instances of discarding a land, which is a little bit different. And you're missing out on things like Random App Excavator to get those lands out of your graveyard. So I still think Dr. Doom needs the green to match the green on his outfit. And the fact that like destroying lands and throwing lands in the bin is a green strategy on a lot of green cards. Like I Still Explore or Random App Excavator. It's more gruel, but to be honest, I could see a Dr. Doom that is everything but white in the same way that the Fantastic Four are everything but black mana. Oh hey, speaking of Fantastic Four, everything but black mana. I like that there are 4 different commander options for the Fantastic Four precon, and I like that they're all pretty darn good. But hey, here's the thing. It costs 6 mana, it's got trample, and it's a 5/5. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you have cast a non-creature spell this turn, you put 4 +1/+1 counters on it, so it becomes a 9/9 with trample. That's a lot better. And then whenever the thing attacks, you can pay 4 mana, red, white, green, blue, and then you can double the number of counters on any number of permanents you control. Yes, you can obviously use this in a +1/+1 counter strategy, but you can also use it with a Super Friends strategy. And that, I think, is way more interesting. Load up with a bunch of different ramp spells, because you got the green in there, so you can ramp up to get the thing out there, and you can ramp up to play a bunch of cool planeswalkers, and then have the thing attack and double all the counters on your planeswalkers, so in your post-combat main phase, all of them pop off and ult. I thought the thing was the worst one, but actually now that I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking about building a Super Friends Planeswalker deck around the thing in all but black as the color identity, well, that's pretty spicy. That's kind of spicy, and I kind of like it a lot. So you know what? I think this is great. I think this is A tier. It's still expensive, but you got green in the color identity. Put some ramp in. The Human Torch is a 4-color commander that focuses on burning things. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you cast a non-creature spell, the Human Torch gets double strike until end of turn, and flying until end of turn, and haste until end of turn. That means if you use something like Seething Song to get 5 mana, spend 4 of it to get the Human Torch out, you have a hasty flying double striker that's a 3/2, and that's not bad. And until end of turn, whenever the Human Torch does combat damage to a player, it does that much damage to each other player. Judge, I have a question. If I have multiple combats because I've cast a spell that gives me multiple combats, and I pay for this ability twice, does it do double the damage to each other opponent? Let me know. That's a question. I don't think you necessarily need to do that because just, casting a non-creature spell to get double strike and flying on this thing. As long as there's one player that doesn't have a flying blocker, you get to do 6 damage to each player. And we're in colors that can definitely make this a little bit bigger with some bulk up, with some combat tricks. If you use the combat tricks before the combat phase, like bulk up, that also activates the flying and double strike. So yeah, I think this one's really, really good. I don't know if I'd quite say S tier. I think I'll still say A tier, but high A tier. Invisible Woman is great at sneaking things in and keeping you safe. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you've cast a non-creature spell this turn, you make a 0/3 wall artifact token. Don't know why they couldn't just make it a 0/4 colorless wall artifact token. Is it that different? But sure, I guess this is boltable. Someone can bolt your 0/3 wall. Great use of resources there. Whenever you attack, you can pay those 4 funky colors. When you do, target creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn and can't be blocked. Except it's actually +1/+0 for each creature you control. So if you've got a big wide board with, I don't know, a bunch of wall tokens, you'll get to do a lot more damage. It's sort of like a souped up rogue's passage to thank you for using all those specific pips instead of just paying 4 colorless. This is another one that I think is really, really solid, but I do think I am going to leave it up at A tier, not quite up into S tier. Obviously because it's a 0/3 wall instead of a 0/4 flavor fail. And finally, it is a fantastic commander. Say that again. It's Mr. Fantastic. Vigilance Reach. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you've cast a non-creature spell this turn, draw a card. So just basically a free card every turn. You can pay 4 and then tap it to copy target triggered ability twice. When you do, you can choose new targets for the copies. Triggered abilities are some of the best abilities in Magic the Gathering. The first ability on Mr. Fantastic is a triggered ability, which means you can pay 4 to draw 3 cards instead of drawing 1. Is that necessarily worth it to you? If you don't have any other options, sure, which is actually kind of great because a lot of times you will cast too many spells, your hand is looking a little empty. It's happened to all of us. You got plenty of mana though, so, you know, as long as you've cast a non-creature spell that turn, you hold 1 in your hand so you could do that. Yeah. The flexibility of Mr. Fantastic, no pun intended, is what I think makes it the best of the Fantastic Four commanders. So I'm going to put this one up in S tier, and then we'll talk about all of the other legendaries that got announced on later days. Well, that was the first 18 possible legendary commanders you could have. Today is June 2nd. They added 55 legendary creatures today. So we're going to go a little faster. We're going to go a little faster with these. Shuri, Wakandan Inventor, makes artifact spells you cast cost 1 less. You can also pay 1, and target artifact you control becomes copy of another artifact you control, except that artifact isn't legendary. That means that you can turn clues into legendary artifacts. In mono blue is a great color for artifacts. This is going to be stupid busted. Stupid busted, S tier. Iron Fist, Living Weapon. Whenever you cast a spell that targets a creature you control, Iron Fist gets the ability to tap and deal damage equal to his power to target. Target? Any other target. You can target players, planeswalkers, or creatures. This is mono red, so you're going to want to build in a bunch of things that double up power, like the bulk up spell on your Iron Fist, so that your Iron Fist gets really big. You kill people One Punch Man style. I think there is enough support for this in red. I'm going to go ahead and give it A, though, because it would be better if it also had green. Danny Rand wears green, so he should have that. Captain America Team Leader is Jeskai. Whenever another hero enters, it gains haste and vigilance until end of turn, and you put a +1/+1 counter on Captain America, and you put a +1/+1 counter on that hero. Heroes in this are reminding me a lot of allies in Avatar. Not that I think it's like a bad archetype to build around, it's Kindred, and this is a Kindred set that's all about 2 Kindred types, hero and villain. So is it gonna be good? Is it particularly unique or fun? Not really, but it'll be strong and it'll work really well, and it's a good excuse to put all the Jeskai heroes into one deck. So, I'll put it at B tier. It just doesn't spark joy for me. Tigra, Feline Fury, has Flash and Trample. Whenever you gain life, you put a +1/+1 counter on Tigra. It's very simple. It's a 2/1, and it's pretty easy to gain life in green. This is another one where it's like, it'd be slightly better if it was in Selesnya, but I think it definitely works. And I also think it would be probably better if it was in mono white. Mono white is better at gaining life than green is, but green gives this trample, so I'll give it another A. This is another one that, like, you could definitely build around it, but I don't think it's all that great. For one that I think is actually kind of mid, Spider-Woman, Secret Agent. She's got Flash, and whenever she enters, you tap target creature an opponent controls. It does not untap as long as you control Spider-Woman. You tap 1 creature. It is hate for 1 creature as a commander. That's not good. It's certainly not good for 4 mana, so I'm going to to go ahead and say a D tier. Wolverine, Fierce Fighter, has haste. Whenever it enters, it fights target creature and opponent controls. And whenever damage is dealt to Wolverine, it heals it. It doesn't regenerate. It heals damage that's already dealt to it. So basically, you need to hit it with 5 or more damage if you want to kill it. And as it enters, it bolts something. Yeah, there are worse things in the world. I think this could work really well. Obviously, you want to build this up with +1/+1 counters, make it bigger so that it is harder to kill. And it is harder to kill until someone exiles it with Path to Exile. It's a Gruul commander you want to make big and attack with and fight stuff with. Crazy. A tier, it's fine. Storm, Queen of Wakanda, has flying. Whenever she attacks until end of turn, another target creature gets flying and +X/+O, where X is Storm's power. And whenever a creature with flying attacks you, Storm does X damage to that creature, where X is Storm's power. It's wild to see flying hatred back in Green's color identity. What is it, like 1990 again? But hey, that's kind of cool. She's a 4/5 with flying. She boosts up something else when she swings. I think it's all right. I think it's another A tier. There's a lot of A tiers in here where I'm like, that's good. It doesn't like sing to my soul though. Sings to my soul is for the S tier. Daredevil, Man Without Fear, is a character that sings to my soul. He's got vigilance. He's got haste. You can look at the top card of your library at any time. You don't need eyes to see the top of your library. He's the man without sight, the man without fear, and he does not fear that you're going to have something bad on top of your library. Whenever you attack, you can exile the top card of your library. If it's a hero card, Daredevil gets +2/+1 until end of turn, making him a 5/5 instead of a 3/4. And you can cast that spell until end of turn. I'm gonna be real. 3/4, no evasion. Vigilance, cool. Haste, cool. But no evasion. Swinging with a 3/4, pretty dangerous when that's a 4-mana 3/4. So you're getting it out on turn 3, turn 4. People might have blockers for that. And the best you can get is a 5/5 if you've stacked your deck with heroes. Yeah, this is C tier. I like him, but I can't give him higher than C tier. The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, maybe not unbeatable, but definitely pretty frickin' strong. Whenever she enters or attacks, you make a 1/1 green squirrel token, and you can pay 1 and 3 green to double the amount of squirrels you control. There are so many effects like Jaheira, Friend of the Forest, that let tokens you control tap for mana, so you can effectively just keep tapping your squirrels to make more squirrels if you've got like a concordant crossroads type effect out there, giving everything haste. Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, very, very strong. I'm gonna put it up in S tier. Squirrels are good. Okay, we also got to see the leaders of the welcome decks, so we're gonna do all of those. Black Panther, Claws of Bast. It's got lifelink, and whenever a creature you control attacks alone, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature. That's not all that great for 3 mana and a 3/3. Yeah, just not all that good. Goes pretty hard in like a Ryu Storm's Edge deck, but it's a 99 card. I don't think it's a good commander. I don't really think a lot of these are going to be good commanders unless I see tier. Iron Man, Modern Marvel. Makes sense. Iron Man started the modern Marvel cinematic universe. It's got flying, and other artifact creatures you control get +1/+1. Whenever it attacks, if you control another artifact creature, you get to draw a card. You get to draw 1 more card per turn, and artifact creatures you control get +1/+1. You can do better artifacts in blue, like Shuri that I talked about at the beginning of this section of the video. C tier. Black Widow, Daring Operative, costs 5 mana. She's got Menace. Whenever she enters, you mill 3 cards, and whenever she deals combat damage to a player, each player loses life equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. I think this is pretty good. 5 mana is kind of expensive for it, but if it cost like 1 or 2 less mana, I'd think it was really, really good. So I'm gonna give Black Widow a B tier. B for Black Widow. So far, the best of the starter deck commanders. Until we get to Spider-Man Web Swinger, maybe. I don't know. I'm like, I don't have time to read all of these and know what all of these do, so I'm kind of winging it. I'm kind of web swinging it. Excelsior. It's got double strike. It's got haste. Whenever it attacks, you can choose 1 creature that you don't want to block. Double strike on a 2/3 in red, not bad. You can buff it up with various equipments if you want to have Spider-Man carry 19 swords in his sticky hands or whatever. You could also work with pump spells like the bulk up, kind of like we did with the Iron Fist. And being able to shut down a blocker is pretty neat, but for 4 mana, I think we can do a bit better. I'm gonna say a B, a tier. Hulk Brutal Brawler attacks each combat if able. It's a 4/4, and whenever it attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control. The Hulk does not get bigger when he attacks or takes damage. The Hulk is a 4/4 until you cast other spells to make him a 4/4. He has no way to get bigger. D tier, not just because I think it's kind of and it's just gonna get chump blocked and killed, and then you've got to play it again. Stinky. But also because flavor fail, Hulk gotta get bigger. D tier, don't like that one. Truly the thing I like most about it is that Brute Brawler kind of sounds like Bruce Banner. Kind of. There's like almost a pun. But again, those cards aren't merely meant to be good. They're meant to be for welcome decks for people who are new to Magic the Gathering and they want to learn how to play. Electra, Daughter of the Hand, I think is probably supposed to be good. She costs 4 mana unless you're sneaking her in, then she costs 3 mana. Whenever she enters, you get to destroy target creature an opponent controls worth mana value 3 or less. Destroying one creature isn't a good enough reason to build a commander. A 3/3 for 4 mana is not a good enough reason to build a commander. A 3/3 for 3 mana is not a good enough reason to build a commander. D tier, this one's bad. Echo Perceptive Prodigy has Vigilance, and you can pay 1 and tap her to copy target activated or triggered ability from a creature you control and choose new targets for the copy. Copying is good. Copying triggered and activated abilities can be really, really good, especially if those activated abilities cost a bunch of mana and now you just have to pay 1 to get that again. I do wonder if Echo would be a little bit better in the 99 of some other decks that have better activated abilities, but as it stands now, I think you could build a cool mono blue activated ability type deck, and I would put her at B tier? B tier. Hellcat Undying Vigilante, 2 green mana. It has haste. Whenever she dies, you return to the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it, haste, and no other abilities. That sucks. You can swing pretty guilt-free. Maybe get some things with some leaving the graveyard triggered abilities, and then the next time she dies, put her in your command zone so that you can have her come back out and swing in again and die again. But if the best thing she can do is die and come out of the graveyard, I'm sorry, there's better stuff for that. And also, you want black in your color identity. You want white, you want red, you don't want just green. Probably mostly want black. You want to be Golgari. Anyway, this one's gonna be D tier. Stinky. The Fantastic Four is one of those that speaks to my soul. It is a commander that is everything but black, so red, green, white, and blue. Whenever it enters or whenever you cast a spell with mana value 4, you get to choose an option of the 4 that has not been chosen this turn. Create a 0/4 wall token with Defender. The Fantastic Four does 3 damage to each opponent. Puts 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature or draw a card. It counts up to 4, and I'm sorry, building a deck around spells that cost 4 mana seems cool. That seems cool. I can't think of any other deck that does that. Is it even good? I don't know. S tier. I put it in an S tier because I love the concept of building your deck around it costs 4. I think you've also got to make it a companion with Karuga, the Micro Sage, since the companion makes you have only spells that cost 3 or more. 4 is 3 or more, and if you build a deck with only 4 mana cost things, it would not work well or curve well, but I'd like it, so try it. Iron Man Bleeding Edge has flying, and whenever you cast an artifact spell, you get to copy it, and the copy isn't legendary, so you can cast a bunch of cool legendary artifacts and get multiple copies of them. Boy, hey, it seems like I talked about how that would be good on Shuri, except Shuri costs 2 mana. This costs 5. I kind of think maybe Shuri's a little bit better. Now I put Shuri in S, so I'll put Iron Man in B. I think I'll put Iron Man in B. Yeah, that takes too long. That takes too long to start. B. Hit Monkey? I would never. I love the monkeys. People say they monkey around. It can't be countered, and it's got Reach, Vigilance, Hexproof, and Death Touch. And Haste. For 4 mana on a 3/3, that's pretty cool. Honestly, this is kind of Thrun. This is Power Crept to Thrun, Breaker of Silence. I think it's probably better. And that's a good commander, so I'm going to put this in S tier. Good job, Monkey. Mono Green is eating. How many Black Panthers have we had so far? Let's have one more. King T'Challa. It's Azorius. He's got Flash, and whenever a creature draws their second card each turn, you get to draw a card. That's player, not just opponent. It's Power Crept Fairy Mastermind. Because now, whenever you draw your second card each turn, you get to draw another card each turn, which means that if you can have this trigger twice on other people's turns, you get to just keep drawing cards. You get to keep drawing so many cards, and that's so good. You could also play the other side or transform King T'Challa, but honestly, I probably wouldn't. Flash, Double Strike, prevent all damage that would be dealt to the Black Panther side. Hope Enduring is specifically the subline, because there's 19 different Black Panthers, and I need to help Corey figure out which Black Panther I am talking about. Whenever he does combat damage to a player, you get to draw a card. With Double Strike, that's 2 cards if he gets through, though I would guess people just probably chump since he doesn't have Trample or Flying or Menace or any form of evasion. I think the front part of this is better, and you build a deck that makes other people draw cards so that you get to draw cards. You do like a group hug Azorius politics thing with your Wakanda powers, and I would say that that's pretty good, and that should be pretty fun, and I think you should have a good time with it. I'm going to put it up in S tier. Another S tier. Kingpin of Crime. I'm going to talk longer about this one, okay? Because I saw it, and I got so excited. Kingpin of Crime is Orzhov. He's got extort, and he's a 1/5. And when I saw extort on him, I thought, oh my god. Is he going to be an extort commander? Is this going to like pog off on the extort ability and make me build around the extort ability and hitting the extort ability? No.
She got a great ass, and you got your head all the way up it.
He's a big butts commander, and that's bad, because, like, I'm not saying he doesn't have a dumpy. Obviously, Kingpin's absolutely caked up, but Kingpin lies, and if you like big butts, you can't lie. Whenever you attack, you can pay 2 life, and then a creature you control with toughness greater than its power gets to assign combat damage with its toughness rather than its power. You get to attack with your fickle cheeks. I wanted it to be extort-based. Something worth noting, if you hit extort on a spell you cast that turn in a game of Commander with 3 opponents, you're going to gain 3 life, which means you will still be net 1 life up if you pay the 2 life, so Kingpin can smack people with his bodacious white ass. But still, I think maybe I'm being too harsh on this. I think there are better big butts commanders, and quite frankly, I'm mostly just disappointed that it's not more focused on extort and making him an extortionist. So I'm going to put him in C tier. But boy, what he could have been if he just were honest with himself about not liking big ass. Again, not saying he's not cheeked up. Now, we've talked about the Fantastic Four, and we've talked about the Fantastic Four, but what if we talked about the Fantastic Four a 3rd time? There better be a 4th Fantastic Four for me to talk about, because if they only make 3 Fantastic Fours, that's f***ed up. I'm sorry. Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards. He's got Reach Richards, and whenever 1 or more tokens you control enters, you get to draw a card. This does not trigger only once per turn, and in mono blue, you can make a lot of clues. You can go on blues, clues, treasure hunt, and draw a bunch of cards, and then have a bunch of artifacts on the board that are tokens that you can sack to draw more cards. Drawing cards in blue is good. A tier. It's kind of boring. Human Torch, Johnny Storm. He's got flying, and whenever you draw a card, if you control another hero, he deals 1 damage to each opponent. Plus, he's got a power-up ability that lets you put 3 +1/+1 counters on him. Running a burn strategy with some other heroes could be kind of cool, I guess. You compare it with that new Iron Fist, and to do non-combat damage, because there's things like Soul Theme, Mayhem Dominus that would double non-combat damage, and yeah, I think you could do something pretty decent with that. I do think if we're going to try and draw a bunch of cards, though, I'd like some blue, please. I'll put this in B tier. Now, here's the thing. Ben Grimm. He's got trample, he's a 7/7, and whenever 1 or more creatures you control does combat damage to a player, you get to put 2 +1/+1 counters on the thing. And here is the thing, I said it again, but you can swing at 3 different people in your commander game, and if those heroes all get through, that's 6 +1/+1 counters on a body that started off at 7/7. 6 is a lot of mana for your commander to cost, even in mono green, where I always say if you're playing with a green deck, you can kind of dock 2 off of the commander cost and treat it like that just because your ramp is so much better. But that would still be a 4-drop, and that's still kind of a lot. So I'll put it in B. It'll work, but it will work a little bit slow. We'll have to spend the first few turns building up heroes and putting out other heroes and getting them trample and ramping and all that stuff. Invisible Woman. Sue Storm has lifelink, and whenever you put a +1/+1 counter on a hero, you get to make a 0/4 wall with Defender. Unless you have a way to make those 0/4 walls with Defender attack, or you've got some sort of artifact synergy that's going to win you the game. I don't see how this wins. I feel like this is just slow. She's got lifelink, so maybe you're thinking, I'll make this a life gain thing, but she costs 5 mana. And if you're doing lifelink, you don't want a 5 mana commander in mono white. There's like 20 different options that are so much better, and they're all like 2 mana. You can start your strategy right away. You can gain your life, and you can bomb people with Aetherflux Reservoir. So, Invisible Woman, Sue Storm, I think this one stinks. D tier. Sucks. I love Sue. I love Sue. That's not me saying I don't like Sue. I love Sue. Thor Odin's Son, Flying Vigilance, Prowess for 5 mana as a 4/4. I love that Boros is a spell-slinging color in this set. I think that's so neat, and I think putting Prowess on a card twice rips. I think it rips real hard. I think it's really neat. I think it's really, really cool, and I like it a lot. I am so tempted to build this with my Aziza deck. If you saw the video about my Aziza deck, where I built a Boros Spellslinger deck that has no creature cards in it, I'll do the same thing again with Thor, and we'll just Prowess the F off. It'll be sick. S tier. Killmonger, I hardly know Monger. Whenever Killmonger... 4 mana for a 3/3. Whenever Killmonger enters, you can sacrifice a creature you control. When you do, you get to destroy target non-land permanent an opponent controls. So as long as he enters and you just dome something on your board, you can get some free removal. If there are 2 or more creature cards in your graveyard, Killmonger also gets +2/+1, making him a 5/4/4/4 if you've got 2 creatures, and he's good at getting creatures into your graveyard, but like, it's only once. So effectively, it's a 5/4/4. Would you play a 5/4/4 as your commander if it also destroyed a non-land permanent when it entered? Probably not. I think that's kind of a C tier, because after it enters, it's just kind of boring. Now, we are in Golgari colors, so we could throw Killmonger into the wood chipper over and over again and reanimate him if that's what we're into. But I don't think that's the most valuable way to get things done. I think there are a lot of other Golgari commanders that you would be better served doing that with. Golgari Blink isn't a thing. You know what I'm saying? Kang, Temporal Tyrant. Whenever it attacks, it connives, meaning you draw a card and discard a card and put a +1/+1 counter onto Kang if the card that you discarded was a non-land card. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Drawing 2 cards in a turn is pretty easy, and there's other second card drawn effects you can get. That was actually big in the Avatar set, so there should be a lot of stuff there, and I believe Dimir was even the color pair for that. So that's pretty cool. You could build around that. On the commander, though, we've got a 4-drop that can do 4 damage to everybody per turn cycle, and you got to do kind of a lot of work to draw 2 cards on everyone's turn. I'm going to put this in B tier. You can build around it for sure, and get something that works pretty well. I just don't know if it'll work all that great. Hey, do we have enough Iron Mans yet? I don't know, because this is Iron Man, Master of Machines. Flying, Vigilance, +1/+0 for each artifact you control, starting on a body of a 1/4 for 4 mana. Whenever he attacks, if an artifact entered the battlefield under your control this turn, you get to draw a card. So you get to draw 1 card per turn cycle. You got a Flying Vigilant, and you throw a bunch of artifacts in there, and then he gets big, and you can kill people with commander damage if you have like 20 artifacts, and that's not too terribly hard. I just feel like someone's going to be able to, get a flyer out. They're going to be able to blow up your artifacts. Your artifacts are going to be tokens that you're going to want to sacrifice. I don't know. Doesn't sing to my heart. Obviously, if you're playing Izzet artifacts, it's gonna go okay. Like, those are good colors to play artifacts with. I just don't think it's all that spicy. Hulk Gamma Goliath costs 5 mana. It's got reach. It's got trample. Why does it have reach? This is the second Hulk with reach, and I don't really get why Hulk has reach, other than, I guess, like jumping. Is it just jumping? Power-up abilities of other creatures you control cost 3 less to activate. Other creatures you control, not the Hulk. I don't know why they're making Hulk such a team player when famously he isn't, but he's also got his own power-up ability, costs 6 and a Golgari pair, where you put 5 +1/+1 counters onto the Hulk. Power-up abilities get reduced if you use them the turn that the creature comes in, so if Hulk comes in, you'd be paying 3 colorless for that activated ability. You'd effectively be paying 9 mana for an 11/10 that discounts the other power-up abilities. Now, I haven't seen all the other power-up abilities. Some of them seem neat. Some of them seem underwhelming, if I'm being generous. And I'm going to be totally honest, building around that. I don't know if it's all there, because this is the first set that has it. I guess we'll probably have more power-up cards when X-Men comes out next year. I'm guessing it's X-Men. Maybe it's Guardians of the Galaxy. Who knows? But yeah, I don't think this one's all that great. It's an uncommon. That kind of makes sense, but I'll put it in B tier. Captain America Living Legend is here for your team-up stuff. He is Azorius with Vigilance, and whenever a creature you control becomes tapped for the first time each turn, you can untap it. This works with the team-up mechanic, which has you tap creatures to power up different instants and sorceries, so they get a little bit better because you tapped a total number of power toughness equal to that. Much like Hulk, there is only one set that has this in it, though you can tap creatures for other reasons, certainly, and untapping them can be pretty chill and pretty cool. Unfortunately, I feel like all of the stuff that wants to be tapped or untapped that I've seen in recent sets has green in it, and we don't got no green on the boy. He's white and blue, no red. What happened there? This is the future liberals want. B tier. Black Widow's a double agent because she has 2 different colors in her color scheme. Oh my god, there's a cat behind me. Whoa. She's got Death Touch, and whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gets First Strike and Menace until end of turn. Which means if she attacks alone, she has Death Touch, First Strike, and Menace, and that is a tricky creature to block. That is a creature that if you block it, you are making choices. For 3 mana, building up a Voltron around Black Widow? I think that kind of cooks. I'm gonna put it in A tier. Black Widow continuing to overperform in the cycles, this time in the Uncommon Avengers 2012 cycle. I guess where's Hawkeye? Wait, have we not had a Hawkeye yet? We got Lucky the Pizza Dog before we got Hawkeye? We'll get a Hawkeye. I'm not that worried. Iron Man, Armored Avenger. Did we talk about this one yet? Or is this another fucking Iron Man. Flying. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Whenever Iron Man attacks other modified creatures you control, get flying until end of turn. So, you draw a card, you modify your creatures with a +1/+1 counter. They all get flying and he helps them fly. They fly now. They fly now? This might be good. I'm just too mad at it for being another Iron Man, and I know it's not even the last Iron Man we're talking about today. C tier. 4 mana is too much for that. Captain Marvel, Apex Avenger, flying, double strike, indestructible. What does she cost? 7 mana? It's Carol Danvers. What could it cost? 7 mana? Whenever you put 1 or more counters on a creature, if it's not a Kree, you can put that many counters onto Captain Marvel as well. Boros is pretty darn good at putting counters on stuff, so you can build up your board, put counters on stuff, and then put counters on your flying 4/4 double strike indestructible. Only problem, 7 mana in Boros. Gonna take a bit to get there. I'm gonna go ahead and put Captain Marvel into B tier for being too expensive. Black Panther Vanguard is back into Selesnya. Whenever another non-token hero you control enters, you can choose to make a 1/1 white soldier token, or creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Other than that, it's a 4/4 for 4. Obviously, you're going to put a bunch of heroes in the deck. You're going to play a bunch of heroes really fast with all of the different commanders that have hero support. I guess this is the one that goes wide in Selesnya. So what does that do for you? Does that do it for you? Maybe. There's so many better Black Panthers. I'm going to put this in C tier. Ant-Man Colony Commander costs 3 as a 2/2. Whenever he attacks, you can pay 1 to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. And whenever you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, you get to make a 1/1 insect. That ability triggers only once per turn. I'm gonna be totally honest. This stinks. This stinks. Where's Shroud? It's Ant-Man. No evasion on Ant-Man? F that. F. What the f? No evasion on Ant-Man? What the f are we doing? It's f***ing Ant-Man. 1 bug? I paid 3 mana in Simic in colors that can play Scoot Swarm for 3 mana, and I can make 1 bug? F tier. How dare they? I also love MODOK. 5 mana, flying, lifelink, pay 3 life, MODOK Connives. Activate only on your turn. Also, creatures your opponents control get -1/-1. Look, he's a 2/2 with flying and lifelink, and you can make him bigger by paying 3 life in colors that gain life pretty fast. I love MODOK, and I think he's so funny, and I think this works great because he is a machine designed only for killing. And you can build him up with power, and then you can lifelink him back up with the power you have given him through your conniving. Dude's so conniving. Also pairs really well with Baron Zemo. Wow, cool. Kind of want to do a mono black like Legion of Evil deck. And I can make MODOK the commander so that my commander isn't a Nazi. It's just a Nazi in the 99. Still not great. Really though, I think MODOK goes super hard in a Rowan Scion of War deck because you can pay 3 life infinitely. And Rowan Scion of War gives you a discount whenever you lose life based off of the life you have lost so that you can cast Torment of Hailfire with 39 mana discount because you opened up the blood. You went to Bloodtown. MODOK on its own though, A tier. I think it's cool and I think you could build something pretty fun with it. Kang Prime. 5 mana for a 3/5 in Dimir. It's got flying. Whenever Kang Prime enters or attacks, you exile cards from the top of your library. Do you exile a non-land card, put 2 time counters on it, and it gains Suspend. This is for all those sickos who want to fill their deck with cards that only have like mana value 20 or whatever. Cheat out so many Eldrazi. Just slap the top of Kang Prime. This bad boy can fit so many Eldrazi in it. Lady Loki, Agent of Chaos, is not a hear me out. That's just an attractive woman. For 6 mana, you get a 5/5 in mono red. Oh, that's fun. Oh, I like that. Whenever you cast your first instant sorcery or villain spell each turn, exile it and then exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. Lady Loki does damage to any target equal to the difference between those mana costs, and then you can play the other card without paying its mana cost. This is effectively Thrill of Possibility in the command zone. Sorry, everybody. I said Thrill of Possibility. I meant Possibility Storm. That's what I meant. Anyway, it's Possibility Storm, but it's considered a move. I run it in my Araxa deck, Araxa Empress of Mars. The only thing is my Araxa is a 4 mana commander and this is a 6 mana commander, and this is better than Araxa, but is it 2 mana better? Is it better to wait 2 more turns? Is it that much better? I don't think so. Plus, it kind of makes you only want to run villains as a creature type, and don't get me wrong, we're going to get villains as a creature type. We're going to get that support. I just don't know if we're going to get enough of it to make it great. I'll put it in B tier. It'll definitely be funny. I just don't think it'll be very good. Loki, the Deceiver, and low-key, this boy likes time manipulation. Whenever Loki attacks, you create a tapped token copy of target other villain you control, except it's not legendary and it's an illusion in addition to its other types. It's tapped and attacking, you have to sacrifice it at the beginning of the end step, but what if you didn't? What if you could end the turn early with things like Obeka, Brute Chronologist, who just happens to fit in these colors, and all of the other things you could do to end a turn early. This is already going on so long. I'm not looking them up. I'm so sorry. Sundial of the Infinite. I remember the name of it. Put it in, Corey. Thank you. So you can use this to keep your copies of your villains, and since they're not legendary, if you find other ways to create copies, you can copy those copies again, and they still won't be legendary because you copied the copy, and you have copies of your copies, and you ended the turn early, and Loki's doing time shenanigans, and you know what? I'm going to be honest. I like it better than the Face Commander Dr. Doom. Put it up in A tier. Ba-boom. Only problem with it is it's a 4/4, and it doesn't have evasion. Doesn't have menace. Doesn't have flying. Doesn't have skulk. I feel like skulk would fit on Loki because he's a sneaky little boy, and you have to attack to get the trigger. That kind of stinks. That's kind of hard, and you're going to have to work to get that to work without people just chumping him into dying because they don't want you to have 20 Dr. Octopuses. But I still like it, and I still think it's neat. Oh! It's an attack trigger that causes that to happen. So, if you attack, you can end the turn before blocks after you get your copy, because you get the copy on the attack, not on the blocks. A tier still, because there's only like 5 or 6 cards that would let you do that, and you can't really make it your deck theme, but it's better than I thought, and it's worth mentioning. Okay, moving on. Do we have another Shuri? Shuri we do. This one's Shuri the Black Panther. I think our 6th Black Panther. This is my problem with the set, is like we have too many of everybody. Like, give me a Shuri, give me a T'Challa, give me a Carol Danvers, give me a Steve Rogers, give me a Thor. Don't give me 12 Iron Mans. But Spider-Man got 12 Spider-Mans, so I guess everyone gets 12. Everyone gets 12. Shuri's got lifelink whenever she attacks. If you control 3 or more artifacts, you get to draw a card. If you control 6 or more artifacts, creatures you control get +2/+2 until end of turn. She's also got lifelink, and she's a 2/2 for 2. 2/3 for 2. She's got slightly more toughness. Selesnya artifacts, that's apparently going to be the theme of this precon. It makes sense with Wakanda. You know, they got that vibranium, and the Face Commander is going to make you a lot of artifacts, and I guess that's nice. But once again, I'm seeing a card that's got to attack to activate its ability, and it doesn't have evasion, doesn't have menace, doesn't have skulk. Kind of a problem. Someone can just chump it. Kill it with 3 toughness if they have less than 6 artifacts. If they have 6 artifacts, then they got to chump it with 5. Gotta find 5 power. It's not very hard. Pretty easy. So I'm going to put it in C tier. Attacking and drawing a card is neat, but that's 1 extra card per turn cycle. Also, Monarch would be a cool Black Panther mechanic if they wanted to do that. Hey, speaking of Monarch, Okoye, Mighty and Adored. This was not a bit. This is my first time looking at the card. Whenever Okoye enters, you become the Monarch. There we go. So the one who's not royalty makes you the Monarch? That doesn't make sense. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Whenever that creature attacks the Monarch this turn, gains double strike and trample until end of turn. So this is a Monarch commander that knows that you're going to lose the Monarch, and it helps you get the Monarch back, so you can do cool Monarch stuff with the different courts. Court of Ardenvale, Court of Garenbrig are 2 that I would say are probably pretty solid in this. Otherwise, a 4-drop for 3 in green and white. Paid 4 mana for a 3/3 in green and white. What? This should be a 20/20 for 4. In green and white. I think this is my favorite of the potential commanders we've seen from the Black Panther deck so far, just because I think it's a little more interesting. I'll put it up in A tier. Finally, from the precons today, we have Director Nick Fury. Makes hero spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Whenever you attack, you can look at the top 4 cards of your library. Put a hero from them in your hand. Nick Fury is better at finding heroes. Captain America is better at buffing heroes. Take your pick on how you want your heroes to interact. How many times have I said heroes today? Too many. Save the cheerleader, save the world. Director Nick Fury, B tier for boring, because I think that Kindred Heroes is boring, and doing Kindred for a whole set that just has Kindred types is boring. Unless it's Bloomborough, which I liked. Okay, now Loki, God of Mischief. Whenever a player or permanent becomes the target of an ability you control, you get to draw a card. This ability triggers once per turn. That's a crime. Crime. That's what you described. Crime. From Outlaws of Thunder Junction, I built a whole deck around crimes. Called my Crime Boat. Skeleton Ship. It was cool. Doing crimes is cool. You can easily do crimes on other people's turns in blue. Blue has a lot of instants, so you can draw 4 cards per turn. Having a deck that revolves all around committing crimes, it's kind of a dick move. People don't love it, so you are going to be the villain, but hey, Loki's a villain, and Loki, he's a pretty good crime commander. I still think Geralf the Fleshlight is a little bit better, but I'll put it up in A tier. They should have just said commit a crime. Crime should be back in this set. It should have been back in Spider-Man. It should be back in Ninja Turtles. They should say crimes more, because we never talk about crime. We never talk about the crime numbers, and crime is out of control in Magic the Gathering. In the real world, crime, violent crime particularly, goes down year over year. Statistically, talking about crime and saying the crime's out of control, it's really not. It's just an excuse to bloat the police budgets even further. Speaking of blue evil things, Kang the Conqueror. 4 mana, flying, and it's got a power-up ability that costs 8 mana. You put a +1/+1 counter on Kang, and then take an extra turn after this one. Getting an extra turn for 8 mana, that's kind of the standard rate. I guess you get a 5/6 with flying that doesn't have summoning sickness anymore, because this does get discounted as a power-up ability by the 4, which would mean, God, they're making me do math. Yuck. Costs 4 mana. So you can play Kang for 4 mana, and then you can take the extra turn for 4 more mana if you're playing Kang late game. But I'm guessing if Kang is your commander, you're playing Kang late game. What happened is Kang got removed. Although, hold on. Hold the phone. You get to reduce the mana cost if it entered this turn, which means power up goes sicko mode in blink decks. So if you can blink your Kang, you'll be able to have him out, and then you blink him, and then you get the power-up ability for 4 mana. Now, during that extra turn, power-up abilities cannot be activated, so you can't use that to chain infinite turns because, you know, people would use it to chain infinite turns. But blue's pretty good at blinking, so you could hypothetically blink Kang pretty regularly and get a bunch of extra turns, and extra turns are kind of good. I'll put it in A tier. It'd be an S tier if it had a white and it was better at blinking. Thor, God of Thunder, will leave your opponent saying, I'm feeling a little Thor, actually. He's got flying. Whenever he enters, you can exile an equipment, instant, or sorcery spell from your graveyard and play that spell until end of turn. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Thor does damage equal to that spell's mana value to any target. Blow up a problematic creature. Kill an opponent. Whatever you'd like to do. I like this a lot because you can build it around equipment or you can build it around spell slinging. You can kind of go either direction there. Get a bunch of big dumb mana payoffs so that you can do big dummy things. Call forth the Tempest. Yeah, I sure hope Thor can. And to do a bunch of damage that way and burn people with your lightning. A tier. That's pretty cool. Thanos the Mad Titan costs a Mardu, but 5 color do what Mar don't. He's got Death Touch and Lifelink and a power-up ability that costs 5 Wooburg mana with a colorless added on to the end of it, kind of hinting at what we're going to get for our final Soul Stones. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on Thanos, then you get to choose odd or even to destroy all creatures with mana value of the chosen quantity. A lot of people have said online, shouldn't it be random, odd or even? What gets chosen? Sure. That's worse. But you're also playing the board wipe Wooburg commander. That's what you're doing when you play Thanos. And that's really mean. I think it'll be popular, but I think if you play it, people will think you're a dick. Also worth noting that power-up ability costs you 1 colorless, 1 green, and 1 blue after it enters, so you can board wipe for 6 after you get out your 4/4 Death Touch Lifelinker. A board wipe that costs 6 is not actually all that great, especially if it's only a half board wipe. So, you know, maybe it's not even all that busted. Maybe it's only B tier. I think Thanos is B tier, okay? Mostly because even though I think a lot of people will want to play him, because he's Thanos is cool, you're going to be a jerk. And people are going to be mad about you, and they're going to counter your commander, and they're going to hold up mana just to mess with you, because you're messing with them. You played board wipe the commander. Jerk. Monica Rambeau, flying and prowess on a 3/3 for 3. Pretty good deal. Flip it over by paying 5, and you get hexproof in addition to your prowess. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, meaning that prowess becomes a permanent prowess. You prowess up permanently. So that's kind of cool, and that's a lot better. And again, I really like Boros being a spell slinger color, and I like this card as well. This is another good Boros spell slinger color, and it would go great in my Aziza deck. If I swapped out Aziza and put this in, I know I keep just bringing that up, but I really like that deck, and this would go really hard in that. Basically making a bunch of different creature tokens that all get huge as I cast instants and sorceries, and that's all I do is cast instants and sorceries. S tier, I think this is fantastic. Tony Stark, 1/0 blue. blue, you can pay 1 and tap him to look at the top 4 cards of your library. Reveal an artifact, put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. He can find an artifact. He's Tony Stark. Tony Stark built this deck in a cave with a box of scraps, but I'm not Tony Stark. Anyway, you can flip him over for 6, or you can cast him for 6 as the Invincible Iron Man, where he'll have flying and haste. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you can put an artifact from your hand onto the battlefield for free, and if it's an equipment, you can just attach it to Iron Man as he calls in his reinforcements and powers himself up. Cheating out artifacts, it's fun. Doing it after paying 6 mana, I guess, you know, you get the Tony Stark side out and you start fishing to get all the cool equipments into your hand so that when you do flip over the Iron Man and he's got the haste and he swings in, you can put something on him that's cool. Find a way to get some extra combats in there, like Genji Glove, so that you can put down another artifact or enchantment. Excalibur would be cool. The Dominion Bracelet would be cool. So many things, so cool. Colossus Hammer would be cool. You can play an equipment deck S tier. It's S tier. Like, it's good. I just am annoyed by how many Iron Mans there are. Leader, Super Genius. It's more conniving. If you would connive, you instead draw a card and then you connive, meaning that when you connive, you get to draw 2 cards. 1 before you discard the card. 2 before you discard the card. That's how it works, actually. Never mind. I forgot how connive works. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control connives. Any creature. It doesn't even have to be a villain. This one doesn't even care about being a villain, even though it is a villain. Probably want to connive with your commander, so that your commander gets bigger. But maybe there's other cards that get benefits from having +1/+1 counters put on them. So the Leader Super Genius makes conniving better. Would be cool if it had black in its color identity, because then you'd get more connive payoffs. Blue doesn't have all the connive payoffs. A tier, it could be better. The Masters of Evil, 6 mana, other villains you control get +2/+1. It's a 5/6, and you can pay 1 and a black to discard this card. Search your library for a plan card, put it into your hand and shuffle. Do I understand how plan cards work? Yeah, they're enchantments you want to put counters on. Do I understand that any commander that has discard this card on it means you've got to work to put that commander into your hand, and now part of your deck's theme has to be getting your commander from the command zone into your hand, or getting your commander from the graveyard into your hand, or getting your commander from the battlefield into your hand, and that's just an extra weird theme you have to do that makes it not fun, and it already costs 6 mana, and the best thing about it is that you can discard it by paying 2 mana. That's bad. F tier. Madam Hydra, 4 mana for a 2/3. Whenever you cast a villain spell, you get to make a 2/1 black Millie Vanilli with Menace. When you cast a villain, you make a villain. Cast a villain, make a villain. Are you playing Rakdos so that you can get 1 creature token? Is that what you're doing? Is that why you play Rakdos? D tier. Agent Phil Coulson. We have the same name. I'm also named Phil. He's got Vigilance. He's a 2/2. He costs 2 mana, and you can tap him to put a +1/+1 on each other hero you control. It's other hero. You don't get to put a +1/+1 on him. It's kind of like Steel Overseer, but for heroes, and it's worse. Steel Overseer is kind of an old card. It costs 2 mana, and it's colorless mana, so it's easier to cast, and works on all artifact creatures, which there's more of than heroes, despite this set trying to make the most heroes you've ever seen. D tier. It's not very good. Captain Marvel, Earth's Protector. 5 mana for a 5/4 with Flash Flying Life Link. You can power her up by paying 5 and 2 white, or that gets discounted by 3 and 2 white, so you would have to pay 2 colorless if she entered this turn when you had Flash. And you get to put a +1/+1 counter and an indestructible counter on her. I'm just going to look at this as a 7-drop commander that's a 5/4 with Flying Lifelink and Indestructible. And actually, sorry, it's a 6/5 with Flying Lifelink and Indestructible. For that amount of mana, get Avacyn. Go get Avacyn instead. I know Avacyn costs a little more. Avacyn makes every creature indestructible. C tier. Sorry, Captain Marvel. I love Captain Marvel, by the way. I love Carol Danvers, one of my favorite heroes. So this is not coming from a place of inceldom where I hate Captain Marvel because Brie Larson said, oh, I think there should be like more black women film critics, and you just lost your shit and destroyed the entire world. I'm sorry. I'm not saying like it's the only contribution to like what happened in 2016, but like it's a little bit that. Like it contributed like a little bit. Like there was 4 female Ghostbusters, so we destroyed the world. I'm so tired. Scarlet Witch. Instants and sorceries you cast with mana value 4 or greater cost X-less to cast, where X is Scarlet Witch's power. She starts as a 2/3 for 3. That's a very reasonable rate. Red is a color that's great at boosting her power, so you can boost her power up and then get bigger discounts on your instants and sorceries, so you can cast big dumb instants and sorceries, and that could be very fun for you. There's a lot of good fun ones in red. It'd be better if she had blue. A tier. Remember how I said I was so worried about Hawkeye? Well, You don't have to be anymore. First strike, reach. Whenever Hawkeye becomes tapped, you can pay 1 colorless up to 3 times, and you choose that many options that are on there. You can discard a card, then draw a card, deal 2 damage to target player, or 1 target creature can't block this turn. Hey, that all is not very good. That's not very good. Hold on, I'm thinking about this. Could you choose to do 2 damage to target player 3 times, and then if you had a burn magnification strategy, yeah, okay, wait. I'm seeing the vibe. I'm seeing the vibe. I think you build it around discard burn synergies so that you can get things out that do 1 damage when you discard a card, like Brawlin' Skyshark Rider or Glinthorn Buccaneer, and you use that until you find burn amplification, discarding a card, drawing a card, so you'd pay your mana to discard a card and draw a card so you can go through your deck to find the burn magnification. Okay, I'm gonna put it at B. Yeah, first strike, reach. That's all right. That's all right. I do wish it had something to do with reach, like the Dalsum Street Fighter card, that had like reach on it, and it was like all about reach. And I feel like Hawkeye, the archer guy, should have something to do with archery. It's all about trick arrows. That's fine, B. Speaking of Hawkeye, why is Hawkeye on the Abomination Terrifying Titan card? It's Abomination. It's a Hulk villain. They wouldn't just take the Hulk's villains and give them to another Avenger. Anyway, sorry, I forgot I have to go fast. Trample and a power-up ability that costs 7. Put a +1/+1 counter on Abomination. He fights up to 1 target creature. He costs 4, so if you discount that 4 from the 7, you've got a 3 mana. You can put a +1/+1 counter and make it fight something. That's bad. I built a fight deck in mono green, so I know how much the fight spells are supposed to cost. They're supposed to cost 2 at most. I think there's maybe 1 spell in there that costs 3 that makes it fight. So the fact that this is all it can do, and it can do it once, and your big plus is that after that, you have a 5/5 with trample for 4. Huh? D tier. Bad. White Widow, free agent. Whenever White Widow enters, you can put a +1/+1 counter on up to 2 different creatures, or you can turn an artifact or enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. Hey, this sucks for 4 mana. D tier. Now, Mole Man, Moloid Master, we're cooking with. You can play lands from your graveyard for 3 mana. Okay, it's already as good as Random Map Excavator, which is a very good card, but it's also got a landfall ability. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you make a Moloid token, and whenever that token attacks, you get to mill a card. Now, it's a 1/1, and it's going to die, so basically it says you get to mill a card next turn, but mono green landfall. It's pretty good. Not as good as Simic or Gruul or, dare I say, Teamer Landfall, but mono green landfall definitely works, and this is kind of a fun mono green landfall commander. You make a bunch of tokens. We'll put it in A tier. Storm Wind Rider. I hardly Storm know her. She's got flying, and she's bringing the flying hate again. This is the 2nd flying hate storm commander. Creatures with flying can't attack or block creatures you control. And whenever you cast a spell that targets 1 or more creatures, those creatures gain flying until end of turn. It's weird to know that if you beast within something, it gets destroyed as it gets flying. You know, you just whip it up in the whirlwind. Of the 3 storms, this is certainly one of them. A 4/4 with flying for 4, and it blocks flyers. B? You saying B? Y'all talking B? U.S. Agent John Walker. Whenever he enters, you make a equipment called Sturdy Shield. It has equip 2 and gives a creature +1/+2. You get to attach it to John right away, which means John isn't a 3/2 for 4. John is a 4/4 for 4. D, what the this sucks. This sucks. At first I was like, oh, let's blink him, and then we'll make a bunch of shields. And like, I guess, but the shield isn't very good. If you want a blinking commander that makes equipment, look at Moira Brown, guide author from Fallout. I built a whole deck about it. I swear I'm not like trying to plug my decks. It's just that I keep seeing cards and I'm like, I built a better version of this already. A better version of this exists. And people don't play it. And they should. Patriot Shield Wielder. You can pay 2 and tap it. When you do, another target creature you control gets +2, +0, and hexproof until end of turn. Other than that, you got a 2/2 for 2. You can pay 2 mana for to give something +2. Why is Patriot so 2 themed? Don't know. All I know is it's a 2 out of 10, and it's bottom 2 in the tier list. D tier. Bad. Can we get some good commanders? Fin Fang Foom. Dragon with flying, 4 mana, 3/5. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery that targets an artifact or a land, you get to copy that spell. Choose new targets for the copy. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on Fin Fang Fu. That's weird, and I kind of think, is this a land destruction commander? Oh my god, this is a land destruction commander. Oh, that's dirty. Oh, he's a dirty boy. Oh, bracket 4 for you. If you're playing the mass land destruction, you're putting Blood Moon in. You're blowing up all their basic lands. You stinker. He's a stinker. He's an interesting stinker, though. I think he's kind of interesting. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm going to go ahead and say A tier. Land Destruction pushes you to bracket 4, and I guess in bracket 4, I don't know how good this commander is. But I guess you could also cast spells that target artifacts. I don't know off the top of my head what those spells would be, but I hope they're good. Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. He costs 1. He is your generic 5-color slop commander. Every set needs a 5-color slop commander. You can pay Wooburg mana. You get to put 2 +1/+1 counters on Nick Fury. And let me guess, you look for a fucking hero? Yup. Or an equipment or a vehicle. If it's a double face card, you can transform it and you put it onto the battlefield. Oh my god. I'm so sick of these 5-color slop enablers. I don't want to pick my colors. I just want to play every hero with the set. Pick something. Make a decision. If I'm going to Denny's with you, you should know your order. Why are we getting into the drive-through lane? Not a Denny's, but like, why are we going to a drive-through? Why did you say you wanted to go to the drive-through, you want to go to Taco Bell, and then when we get there, and they say, what do you want to order? I look over at you, I'm in the driver's seat, and you say, you asked to go. It'll work, A tier. I'm so cross. I wish there was a commander I liked. I'm getting so scared because Kamala Khan is maybe my favorite superhero character. And to prove it, if you need a proof, I got Kamala Khan comics right here. I have everything through Last Days. And this is after Last Days. I do think the run is best from No Normal to Last Days. It's kind of like the only Last Days comic I enjoy. It's really, really good. It's really, really good. I didn't really like that series in the comics, but the Kamala Khan part was just magnifique. I'm so scared that Miss Marvel Kamala Khan will be mid. Oh! She's the next commander we get to talk about. For 3 mana in mono blue, you get Vigilance, you get Reach. You have no maximum hand size. Oh, that's good. That's good. Oh, does it get better? Whenever you cast a spell that targets a creature you control, you get to draw a card. Then Miss Marvel's power becomes equal to the number of cards you have in hand. Which means this is a commander that is about making your hand big. Because she makes her hands big. That's so good. And Vigilance and Reach, like, thanks, you didn't have to. On a 1/4 for 3 mana in blue, pretty good, except that 1 is never gonna be 1. It's gonna be much bigger. Because Miss Marvel is going to win through aura farming and card maxing. Do you know how many auras there are? They give a creature unblockable so she can sneak in and do commander damage 7 at a time if you got 7 cards in hand. Why do you only have 7 cards in hand though? Are you bad at drawing cards in blue? You know how many cantrips there are, 1 mana spells that give a creature unblockable and draw you a card, so then you get to draw another card. Do you know how many blue effects there are that say when you draw a card that isn't your first card, to draw another card, so you can draw more cards? So yeah, S tier, too low for Kamala Khan. A new tier. You might think, Phil, you can't put a card above S tier, and maybe I can't, but Kamala Khan. And you might say, oh, but Phil, she dies to removal. Do you know how many blue instants there are that say target creature gets hexproof? I mean, forget saying Swiftfoot Boots. When I build this deck, I say if I build this deck. When I build this deck, might not even put the Swifties in there because I'll just have cantrips that replace themselves in my hand by drawing me a card when I cast them because they made her hexproof. And then we just move on. Oh, it's so good. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Finally, some good food. Oh God, it's another Iron Man. No, this is Iron Lad. He's got flying and vigilance. You can look at the top card of your library at any time. Then you can tap him to reveal the top card of your library. And if it's an artifact card, you get to draw a card. Oh boy, it's the potential to draw 1 card for 3 mana. 1 card per turn cycle. This is the same cost as Kamala Khan. This sucks. D tier. C tier. C tier. C tier. Winter Soldier, I see London, I see France, I see Assassin in Orzhov. Vigilance, Menace, 2/2. He gets +2/+0 for each equipment attached to him. Then you can pay 5 mana to return him from the graveyard to the battlefield, and if you control an equipment, attach that equipment. He also will get a finality counter. I think it's worth noting that 5 mana is more than it would cost to just play him again with commander attacks. And we are only reviewing these as commander. I understand that he does not have to be your commander and he can be in your deck otherwise. I think this is solid though. It's got a form of evasion in Menace. It's vigilant, so it can attack and be fine. It's in good colors for equipment. It would love to have red. We would love a Mardu Winter Soldier. He's got a red tattoo on his arm. He worked for the communists. You know, he's like aggressive. Could have made a Mardu. Could have been an S tier. Instead, he's got to be an A tier. Crossbones, malicious mercenary. Are you sick of mono black villain kindred support? Good. Death Touch. Whenever another villain enters, put a +1/+1 counter on Crossbones. Then he does 2 damage to each opponent. This ability only triggers once per turn. If you can find a way to get Flash to make your villains come out with Flash, I guess you can do 8 damage per turn cycle to each opponent. That's not terrible. It's hard to get Flash in mono black. It's easier to get Flash with blue if he had Demir. A lot of these cards really just need like one more color to be good. As it stands, I'm gonna say C. There are so many other mono black villain slops. Luke Cage, Power Man. I think he got robbed. 4 mana, 2/5. Whenever he attacks on your turn, he gets +2/+0 and indestructible, but only if he attacks alone. That ain't how his power works. Luke Cage is famously in a duo, the Heroes for Hire, with Iron Fist. They're pals. He's married to Jessica Jones. They solve crimes together. He's in the MCU version of the Defenders. That's a team too. Why does he get indestructible when he attacks alone? Why isn't he indestructible when it's not your turn? Luke Cage dies to 5 squirrels. D tier. I've seen people who are like, well, I don't really know Marvel all that well. I don't know what's going on with these cards. And like, as someone who knows Marvel like moderately well, some of them piss me off. Hercules, one of my favorite Marvel characters, has a power-up ability. You can put +1/+1 counter on him and he gets vigilance and indestructible until end of turn. Oh, he also gets haste until end of turn, which is because it's a power-up ability. So you discount that 5 mana for 3 of the mana, so you pay 2 colorless, which means that if you paid a total of 5 mana for your commander, you could get a 4/4 with haste, vigilance, and indestructible, and then lose all those keywords at the end of turn and just have a 4/4. In green, you paid 3 mana for? No! It should be better. He doesn't have the heroic tag. That we can't bring in that guest mechanic. He's Hercules. He's literally, it's him. He's him. Oh, D tier. Gotta remember how much I liked Kamala Khan. I'm crashing out again. Captain Marvel, Spaceborne. 4 and a white. You get a 4/4 with flying and vigilance. As long as an opponent has cast a spell this turn, you can cast spells as though they had Flash. So, hey, we've got our Flash enabler to work with Crossbones, who's mono black. Oh, wait, doesn't work that way. Uh-oh. Look, Flash is fun, and a flying vigilant 4/4 isn't bad. It's not great. But if you're looking for a Flash enabler in mono white, I feel like this is more of a in the 99 type thing. Let's put it at C tier. Agent 13, Sharon Carter. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, you investigate, which means you make a clue token. Wait, what the okay, am I being gaslit? Did they not change the term investigate to make a clue token in the Avatar set? Because it was weird that make a clue token had its own keyword, and like food didn't, and treasure didn't. It was just make a food. It wasn't bake. It was make a treasure. It wasn't plunder. But for clues, we have to investigate. Now we're cluing again, and now you can get 1 clue per turn cycle. You can draw a card once per turn cycle if you pay 2 mana. F! Not even to mention that you are restricted to attacking with 1 creature in the go wide color. F! Baron Strucker? Well, I didn't hate her that much. She's just a bad magic card. Hydra Overlord, 3 mana. Is it gonna be mono black villain slop? Villain spells you cast cost 1 less. Whenever another villain you control enters, you may have a connive. Do this once per turn. You get to connive. It only happens 1 time per turn cycle. You get to draw 1 card, then you have to discard a card, and you get a 1/1 counter. But at least for your villains slop, the villains cost 1 less. F! Ultron Artificial Malevolence. It's colorless, so this is a big hill to climb over, because we're not going to have any colors. If you're not going to have any colors, the card's going to be kind of good. Now, I haven't looked at the card yet, because again, this is all kind of first impressions. Sorry, that's kind of the way I gotta do it. There's too many of them. That's kind of how we gotta do it. I would guess Ultron is going to have artifact support, and that is good in colorless. Whenever another, he doesn't even have flying. He flies! Nice! Whenever another non-token artifact you control enters, you can pay 2 colorless mana, then make a copy of it that's a 2/2 robot villain drone in addition to its other types. And I'm here to say, oh yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm gonna be honest, that's not bad. You get extra tokens. I do wish we had some token support, like in white or like in green, but I understand we can't get that, and quite frankly, colorless has enough artifact support that this seems like it could be pretty good. You put in a bunch of mana rocks, so you can pay for that too whenever you have an artifact enter, and even as you're putting in artifacts that are your mana rocks, or you draw your mana artifacts later in the game, you can make more mana rocks, so you can go bigger and do dumber, bigger, more expensive spells. I like it. A tier. Good job, Ultron, is something that Hank Pym would never say. Ooh, I'm a robot with daddy issues. I'm Ultron. Oh, shit, got Doc Samson in here? Okay, well, I'm back. 5 mana for a 3/6. If you would put 1 or more counters on a permanent you control, put that many counters +1 instead. That is counters on a permanent. That is not +1/+1 counters. That is any kind of counter on any kind of permanent if you want to, which means mono green Super Friends, it's an option. You can also tap them to add X mana of any one color, where X is Doc Samson's power. You know what? Maybe it's just because of how bad some of these other cards have been. High B. High B, low A. This is more of a goes in the 99 of your Super Friends commander deck, like that The Thing commander deck that I was talking about of the Super Friends commander deck, where you use The Thing to double up counters. I think he'd go really, really hard in that. But as it stands, I do have to dock him points for being 5 mana. It's kind of expensive, and you're going to get him out kind of late. Other than that, I like it, and I like Doc Samson. Good, cool pull. Cool pull. That's gotta be the weirdest character they're putting in here. Because this is a set for normies, because they're trying to get normies in. Reptile Dinomorpher? Who the f is that? Well, okay, as far as I know, this is an in-universe magic character, because I've never heard of Reptile Dinomorpher. I hardly know her. It's a 1-drop, that's a 1/2, but you can pay 3 to make it a Brontosaurus that is a 3/5 with Vigilance and Reach, or you can pay 6 to make it a Tyrannosaurus until end of turn, which is 6/6 and has Trample. That sucks. Yeah, that sucks. A 6/6 4/6 with Trample would be decent. A 3/5 4/3 with Vigilance and Reach would be decent. She doesn't stay that on following turns. She's going to lose that, and you're going to have to pay it again. You're going to have to pay it again, and you don't have good colors to discount these abilities. You don't have Boros to get yourself a Zerta to jump in here. You don't have Blue to throw down Training Grounds. You don't have Gruul to throw down an Agatha of the Soul Cauldron. So as it stands, I think Reptile Dinomorpher maybe goes in your Agatha Soul Cauldron deck in the 99, but as it stands, that's a D tier. Dinomorpher, more like D-nomorpher. The Ruinous Wrecking Crew. I'm gonna wreck it, Wreck-It Ralph. It enters with X +1/+1 counters on it, and when it enters, you can choose up to X. Discard a card, draw a card, target opponent loses 2 life, destroy target token, or each player sacrifices a creature of their choice. Now, this is another instance, like with Hawkeye, where I'm like, wait, it says to choose up to X, but it doesn't say you have to choose an option that hasn't been chosen. I feel like it specifies that when that is a rule. So I believe you could cast this for as much mana as you wanted and use it to drain everyone to death if you had an infinite mana outlet. I don't know if that's right. I'm going to talk to a judge after this recording, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to say, this is how I feel about Hawkeye, and this is how I feel about the Wrecking Crew. If it works the way I think it does, and we can generate a lot of mana, Rakdos ain't bad at it. There's a lot of infinite combos you can make with Ashnod's Altar, just throwing so many little dudes in there, throwing so many little creatures in there. That'd be a fun win con, and I kind of like it. I think it's kind of spicy. If that's the case, I'll say S tier. I'll say S tier. I remember seeing this yesterday, forgetting that part and just being like, that sucks. But no, now I'm realizing if X can go beyond 4, this might kind of cook. This might be kind of fun. I might have a good time. Today's Monday, June 8th. We have recorded over 100 commanders so far, and they have added more than 100 since I last recorded. So, if you are at this point in the video, you have already watched more than an hour of it. Please consider leaving a like and giving us a nice comment. Literally just say who your favorite Marvel superhero is, or what card you're most excited about. Varied comments help with the algorithm, and we worked so hard on this video. Specifically, Corey did. So liking, subscribing, leaving a comment really helps. Now, I am going to try and get through as many commanders as I possibly can in the next 90 minutes. Let's go. Absorbing Man costs 3 mana. It's got Vigilance, and at the beginning of your first main phase, it becomes a copy of a non-aura enchantment, artifact, or land, except it's still a 4/4 creature. Having 2 of an artifact could be really, really good, and this does not even have to be an artifact, enchantment, or land you control. In a game of Commander, there are going to be multiple people playing different things, so I'm going to say A for Absorbing Man. Agent Maria Hill is a 1-drop commander. 1-drop commanders get a lot of credit for me because you can play them on the first turn and start doing your strategy early. Whenever you tap Maria Hill for a teamwork ability, you put a +1/+1 counter on her and draw a card. Untapping her is a little difficult in mono white, so doing this multiple times per turn cycle is going to be kind of difficult. You're mostly just going to get 1 extra card and 1+1/+1 counter. C tier. Ares, God of War, attacks each combat if able, and whenever an attacking creature you control dies, return it to its owner's hand. I do believe it would hit the graveyard on the way out, because that is what dying means. Also, attacking creatures do not have to die because they are blocked, so if you have effects like Phyrexian Altar or Ashnod's Altar or Viscera Seer, these can all be different ways to get extra value out of things that are attacking anyway, and you kind of get around commander costs because Ares does get to see himself die. This will also be reprinted in the Hades Universes Beyond set and the DC Universes Beyond set that we know is f***ing inevitable. I think this is a really fun one. I'm going to throw it up at S. I like it. Beast Eurydice Aerialist. That's a fun thing to say. As long as you put a +1/+1 counter on Beast, it has flying this turn, and whenever it does combat damage to a player, you get to draw a card. That's not great. It could just be a flyer. It could just be a flyer for this amount of cost. I know that Beast isn't just a flyer, and they're trying to include that he jumps and he have jump, but drawing a card as a payoff is not good enough for a 4-drop commander, so I'm going to go ahead and say C tier. Captain America Wings of Freedom. This is a Sam Wilson Captain America, and Sam Wilson Captain America is eating a lot better here than he did in the MCU. Flying first strike, ward 1, and whenever he attacks, each creature you control gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the size of that booty. Now, unfortunately, that booty's small. Where's the booty? I don't see it. White's good at boosting booties though, so you're going to want to boost that booty up, probably with some equipment, like all the Captain America shields that are being put in here that give big toughness boosts, so you can cake that Sam Wilson up, and Sam Wilson can open up a goddamn bakery. It's easy to open up the bakery. That is one step you do have to do, so I'm going to keep it out of S tier, but I'll keep it in A tier for America. Colleen Wing, Street Samurai, has whenever you cast a spell that targets a creature you control, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on Colleen Wing and scry 1. Is this repartee from Secrets of Strixhaven? I think so. Why doesn't it say repartee on the card? I don't know. Is this good enough to build your commander around? It's not terrible. She only costs 2. She comes out pretty early. I'll put her at B tier, but definitely could be a little more interesting. Falcon Winged Wonder gives you 2 flyers for the price of 1. As it enters, you get to create Red Wing, a flying bird creature token that has, whenever it attacks, you get to surveil 1. I think this is really good in limited. A lot of these are really good in limited, but as a commander, 5 mana for 2 flyers? That's not enough. That's not enough for me to like it. C tier. Grim Reaper, Lethal Legionnaire, is a flavor fail because it has no death touch as the Grim Reaper. Come on! Whenever it attacks, you can pay 4 mana. One of those has to be a black pip. I don't know why I went Irish there. If you do, you get to return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, tapped and attacking, and it's got a finality counter on it. This doesn't kill things like the Grim Reaper does, brings things back to life, and I don't really know how I feel about that. Obviously, you can discard some Eldrazi and then get him back tapped and attacking for 4 mana. That is not cast, that is a put, so all those ETBs are not going to hit. I say C tier. This is pretty expensive, and he doesn't have any sort of evasion, so if he gets blocked by 4 toughness, he's toast, or 4 power, rather. Sorry, I misspoke. Ironheart, Clever Champion, has Improvise and Flying, and it gives non-creature spells you cast Improvise in mono blue. Holy That's good. S tier. Yeah, 5 mana seems like a lot, except the amount of discounts you're going to get on your artifacts is absolutely bananas. This is already instantly one of the strongest artifact commanders I've ever seen. This is going to cook and do disgusting sicko things. So yeah, I'm going to say that's S tier. Jennifer Walters makes it so that people can't cast spells on your turn. What is she, some sort of lawyer? Turn her around though, and you've got to reach into Trampler. They keep giving the Hulks reach. Is it just because they're tall? They're like 8 feet tall, whatever, it's fine. It's got the same stacks piece stopping people from casting spells on your turn, but it also adds whenever a creature you control is dealt damage, you can have She-Hulk do that much damage to any target. You can do this once per turn, but she's also a 6/6, and you can also just pay 6 to cast her and have the reach it, trample, stacks piece, all that stuff. It's pretty solid. Jennifer Walters, She-Hulk, you gotta love her. The show was good. The CGI was bad, the writing was good. Tatiana Mollingsley is based as F. We're gonna put her in A tier, even though Tatiana Mollingsley is based as F. So she goes in A, and then the based amount is AF. Jessica Jones, Private Eye, you can tap her to put a stun counter on her and then exile a number of cards equal to her power. Then you can play those cards this turn. This is so close. I like the flavor of Jessica Jones burning herself out because she gets the stun counter after you tap her, so she has to like rest and recover from her hangover because she drank. She be drinking. My only problem is she doesn't get a little bit bigger. If she could get a +1/+1 counter and a stun counter to make this more repeatable, like it gets better as the game goes on. I guess you could always just cast things like bulk up to double up her size and then tap for more. But right now, it's kind of bad. C tier. Khazar is a savage. Killed his husband, whacked him. You can look at the top card of your library at any time and play lands from the top of your library. When he enters, you get to make a little kitty cat. Cat gets bigger when you play lands. The cat gets bigger when you play lands, but Khazar does not. He's a 3/2. He costs 5 mana. If you want to win through commander damage, your kitty cat is not commander damage. Only Khazar is the commander damage. As it stands, this is just a way to get lands off the top of your library. Not bad. There's a lot of better green cards that do that for you, so I'm going to say C tier. Misty Knight, Hero for Hire, has 2 and a tap. You get to discard a card, then draw a card for each card you've discarded this turn. I kind of love it. There's a ton of discard support in mono red, and discarding is fun. I love hitting wheels. I love that. I have a good time with that. Paying 2 and tapping her to do that, kind of stinky, especially, you know, getting her out costs 2 mana, and then you gotta wait a turn cycle to do that. I'll say B tier. It's fun. It's not like top tier plays. Mock, yeah. Ing, yeah. Bird, yeah. Ace Agent, double strike. Whenever you cast a spell that targets a creature you control, put a +1/+1 counter on Mockingbird, Ace Agent. It's a lot like Colleen Wing. This is a little bit better since it's got the double strike, but it costs more mana. B tier. Moonstone, Harsh Mistress. I kinda mess with it, and not just because it's an evil woman, and you know, as much as I support women's rights, I support women's wrongs even more. She's got flying. She's a 2/4. Whenever you discard a card, you can send it into exile and then play it until the end of your next turn. She's Containment Construct, but better because you have until the end of your next turn, not the end of this turn, to play those cards. All that conniving in mono black, all those villains who are doing conniving in this set, that's going to connive you to discard cards, and then you get to keep those and play them from exile. They also do touch the graveyard on the way out, so it works for leaves the graveyard effects, which you know I love. If you've watched my other videos, you should watch my other videos, by the way. If this is your first video you've watched and you like hearing me talk about cards, oh my god, that's like what I do in all the other videos. Go check them out. I'm going to put this in A tier. I think it's fun. I'd put it up in S tier if it had red or if it had blue. Better cards to discard with. As it stands in mono black, I gotta say A tier. Night Nurse, Healer of Heroes, Flash, lifelink. Whenever she enters, you can return a target permanent card that was put into your graveyard this turn to your hand, not to the battlefield. This is kind of like a Samwise card. I don't remember the name of it, but yeah, I wouldn't build a commander strategy around having a permanent go to the graveyard and then one time getting it out. F tier. I haven't put enough in F tier. Sorry, Night Nurse. F tier. Okoye, Dora Milaje Leader. When she enters, you make 2 1/1 white soldier tokens, and tokens you control have first strike. This is an okay mono white blink commander. There are several great mono white blink commanders and several holy that's fun. Mono white Blink Commanders. C tier, she has too much competition. Quake, Agent of Shield. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you tap target creature or land. This is not good enough on its own. There is no payoff for doing this. It is simply tapping. This is bad on its own. F tier. This is a great addition to a Hilda of the Icy Crown deck. Red Hulk, holy shit, that's a red one. You remember from Venom and Carnage? That was a movie that wasn't very good, but people said it was good because it wasn't terrible. And that's where our standards are now. Reach and Trample, he's tall enough to reach. I guess reach is, the definition of reach is, can you get to the top shelf of the grocery store? He mad, he got enraged. Whenever he's dealt damage, you put a +1/+1 counter on him. Then he does damage equal to the number of +1/+1 counters on him to any other target. It could be another creature. It could be someone's face. Put caltrops on the field. He'll step on them and he'll go ow, 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 ow. I'm gonna say B tier, except, oh, what's this? His base power toughness? 6, 7. A tier. If you don't like that I did that, too bad. It happened. I only move forward, ever forward. Excelsior. Ronin Shadowstalker. You can pay 2 life to get 2 mana of any color. Use that to cast an equipment spell or equip an equipment spell. Then you can tap Ronin to sacrifice an equipment that's attached to him and to give a creature -4/-4 until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. A lot of little restrictions on this that are kind of keeping it from being pretty cool. I think it could be really, really cool if it was like an infinite way to sink life, infinite way to get mana and move your equipment around. I mean, Pure Steel Paladin will let you just skip equip costs in general. So I don't think it's that busted to let you do that for paying 2 life or whatever. It's fine. It's not great. The -4/-4 gets around indestructibility. That could be good. Most of the things that are indestructible are already like 8/8s. So I don't know how often that's going to be useful. I'll say C tier. That's Hawkeye, by the way. Supreme Scientist of Aim. 2 mana, and you can pay 2 life to copy target activated or triggered ability of an artifact you control. You can choose new targets for the copy, and you can only activate it once per turn, and only on your turn. Now, blue does have some blink, which could let you blink the Aim Scientist, so you could do this multiple times per turn. That's kind of tricky to build around blink and build around artifacts, but as it stands, building around artifacts and getting double payoffs from your artifacts can still be pretty cool. It can still be pretty good. I'll say A tier for Aim. A for Aim. Aim high. Oh, also, at some point, Corey deleted the old tier list that was up before and replaced it with a new tier list that's easier to see and read. If you want to see the old tier list, pause it before and you can look at it then, and now you can look at this one because there's simply too many cards going on the tier list. Stature Size Shifter can't be blocked if it has power 1 or less. Then there's a power-up ability for X and 2 blue, where you put X +1/+1 counters on stature. This can be activated at instant speed, so you can activate it after the declare blocker step when stature couldn't be blocked, and then you can kill someone. If X can equal 20 and mono blue with no green needs green. B tier. Simic Astonishing Ant-Man. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Astonishing Ant-Man. You can pay 2 and a green to remove any number of +1/+1 counters from Astonishing Ant-Man. Make that many green insects. This is better than the last Ant-Man, but it still doesn't have any fucking evasion. C tier. I'm just mad about it. I don't care. Mighty Thor Jane Foster has flying. Whenever she attacks, you get to exile a non-token artifact or creature you control and return it to the battlefield under your control. Whenever an equipment enters the battlefield, you get to draw a card. This already seems kind of cool, and I really, really like it. S tier, but here's where it gets cooler. I built a whole deck based around Sid, Timeless Artificer, that uses the job select mechanic from Final Fantasy set. I'm talking about things like Dancer's Chakrams. I'm talking about things like Astrologist's Geosphere. These make you heroes when they enter, and Sid boosts your heroes for the number of Sids you have. You can have any number of Sids in the deck, and if you blink these artifacts with Jane Foster, you'll make more heroes, and you'll draw cards, and it'll be cool. This is S tier. This is one of the cards I'm most excited to build, even though it is just going to be my Sid deck again. Hey, look, that's the Ruinous Wrecking Crew. Do you remember when I was talking about Hawkeye and the Ruinous Wrecking Crew, and I said these would be good if you could choose each mode more than one time? I checked with the judge. You can't. C tier for both both of them on this new tier list. I am sure you have already told me in the comments that I was wrong, but there's nothing we can do. Time only moves forward. Excelsior! The Wondrous Wasp has flash and flying. When it enters, you tap target creature. It loses all abilities while Wondrous Wasp is on the battlefield. On its own, this is one piece of hatred. D tier. In a deck like Hilda of the Icy Crown, again, this one rips. Hilda just keeps eating. Makes sense, because Marvel is a Disney property, and Hilda is just Elsa. She is just Elsa frozen. Titania, Rugged Rumbler. She costs 3 mana, but she could also cost 5 mana, or you could discard a card. She has Ward, discard a card, and she's a 5/5. This is a pretty good card for limited. It's going to hit really hard in limited and come out really fast. As a commander, it's a 5/5. That's harder to remove. D tier. White Tiger Ava Ayala has a power-up ability that puts 1+1/+1 counter on her and makes a 4/4 legendary cat that can't be blocked by more than one creature. That cat also can't do commander damage if you can pay the full power-up cost when she comes in. She costs 6 mana for a 4/4 tiger and a 2/2. That's it. Just a 2/2. That ain't good. D tier. Also, the token is legendary, so you can't copy that token. You can't make more tigers unless you get rid of the legendary rule somehow, which isn't a thing in green. So yeah, that's bad. D tier. Wiccan, Rising Magician, more like Wiccan, Balanced Displacer Kitten. It's got flying, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you exile a non-land permanent from the battlefield, then return it to its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. He also costs more mana than Displacer Kitten, so he's just worse Displacer Kitten. Displacer Kitten goes really, really hard though, so I won't punish Wiccan for that all that much. I'll just say B tier. It's a little slow. And if my math is right, that's 125 different commanders we have reviewed. Let's go to Reddit to see the other new ones that are here, because we got deck lists revealed and we got Jumpstart revealed. I'm so scared. Please like the video, guys. Please do that. This is just so much. Okay, first up, we got Ant-Man, Elusive Avenger. Ant-Man can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. Folks, we did it. Ant-Man has evasion. We did it. Whenever it does combat damage to a player, you get to create that many treasure tokens. I think this is pretty fun. If you could find ways to raise the power of every single creature on the board, I guess that would be much better. I don't think effects like that exist, so I'll just kind of say B tier, because what's the strategy? If you make it bigger, you get more treasure tokens, but it can be blocked by things, so it can't do damage to a player. So what you gonna do? I guess you could build around giving it unblockable, but then that's like half the strategy. Yeah, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say B tier. She-Hulk Wallbreaker looks like Nikki from Obsession with that smile. That smile's weird, but she's got trample. Other heroes you control have trample, and whenever a hero you control becomes blocked, you put a +1/+1 counter on that hero for each creature that blocked it. She sure do be breaking that fourth wall by costing 6 mana for a 5/5 with trample and enabling trample on one specific archetype in one specific color that has other trample enablers. C tier. I'm sorry. I like you, Jen. Photon Mighty Marvel has flying. Whenever it does combat damage to a player, you add that much mana of any color, and then you don't lose that mana as steps and phases end. Starts off as a 2/4. You make it bigger in mono red. You get to keep some mono red, so you can cast more spells in mono red. B tier. It's fine. The Wasp, Winsome Avenger. You win some, you lose some. Flash flying. When it enters, heroes you control have hexproof, and whenever it attacks, you get to tap target creature an opponent controls. Say it with me. D tier. Good in Hilda of the Icy Crown. Hercules, Olympian hero, will also be in the Hades secret lair. Whenever Hercules attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on him, and he gains indestructible until end of turn. Whenever Hercules is dealt damage for the first time each turn, put that many +1/+1 counters on him. I believe he would still take the damage while he is indestructible, so he will just get bigger the first time he would block, and yeah, he can get pretty big. +1/+1 counter support. It's in white. It's more in green, and I don't know why he couldn't just be frickin' Selesnya. He wears green and he gets bigger. B tier. Falcon and Redwing, this time in white. We just need to get one in red, and then we'll have a red, white, and blue Falcon. Falcon and Redwing with flying. Whenever it deals combat damage, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on Falcon and Redwing, and you also get to make a bird. You get to make that many birds. So it's Bird Storm, and it'll storm out some birds for 3 mana. A tier. It's fine. White has a lot of token support, so you can get out your Mondrax, get out your O'Hare Taj? It makes more tokens when you make tokens. Hawkeye Avenging Archer. Reach. Whenever a creature that was dealt damage by Hawkeye Avenging Archer dies, you get to draw a card, and you can tap it, and he'll do 1 damage to any target. You can draw 1 extra card per turn. D tier. Jocasta, Automaton Avenger, literally doesn't want to be your commander. It's got flying, and whenever your commander deals combat damage to a player, you can put a +1/+1 counter on this. If this is your commander, I mean, that does work. It's a 2/2 with flying that gets +1/+1 counters when it hits stuff. The second paragraph is irrelevant to what we're talking about because we're reviewing these as commanders. This is in no colors. It has no colors, so it has no support beyond other no colors cards. C tier. Black Widow Agile Avenger has Menace. Whenever an opponent draws their second card each turn, you put a +1/+1 on Black Widow. You get to draw a card. Wedding Ring works in these colors, so you can get married, and you can get value from getting married beyond just, you know, the value of a partner who understands you. Black Widow continues to make pretty cool cards that aren't all that great, but are kind of fun, so I'll put her in A tier. War Machine Avenging Arsenal. 5 mana, flying. Whenever it attacks, modified creatures you control get double strike. It's red equipment, and it's a 3/5 with flying. Other than that, B tier. It'll work. Firebird, Blazing Ranger, flying. Whenever it attacks, other creatures get +X/+O, where X is Firebird's power. So you can pump up Firebird with your mono red pump spells and then make your little guys on the ground hit harder. I think this precon's boring. I think it's boring. C tier. There's just a lot that I don't care about. Oh, and then as soon as I say it's boring, I get a commander that I think rips. It's Shang-Chi and the 10 rings. This is an S tier. First strike. Whenever you draw a card, you put a +1/+1 counter on Shang-Chi. And whenever you put your 10th +1/+1 counter on Shang-Chi, you draw 5 cards and you gain 5 life. That's cool. I said S tier, but it's probably got to be A, right? The +1/+1 counter support isn't there. It wants green so bad. He wants green. Where's the green? There's other green Shang-Chi's in the set. Why couldn't this one be green? Actually, this feels kind of Simic. If I'm being honest, this doesn't feel Azorius. This feels Simic, but I'm going to put it in A, and I know why it's Azorius. It's because it's in the Captain America deck, and he doesn't have green because Captain America hates the environment. Professor Hulk has Trample, and whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you get to draw that many cards. He's a 6/6/4/6. It's fine. It's kind of boring. B tier. It's fine. B tier. Scarlet Witch Chaotic Avenger has flying. Whenever she does combat damage to a player, you can exile the top 2 cards of your library face down. Then you can cast a hero or a non-creature spell from among those cards without paying their mana cost. Hey, did you know that the exiled cards with this Scarlet Witch do not have to be played this turn or next turn, and you're just building a stack constantly? S tier. All I have to do is say that the cards are boring. I think this one's really cool, but actually I think it's boring. So let's see what the next one is. Jarvis's Earth's Mightiest Butler. Jarvis lets you draw 1 card when you cast a hero spell. D tier. Winter Soldier Reborn Avenger. Whenever Winter Soldier attacks, you can return a target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And if that creature was a hero, it enters with a +1/+1 counter on it. The creature does have to be less than or equal to Winter Soldier's power. Their mana value has to be less than or equal to Winter Soldier's power. So get in a few equipment to buff him up. Get in some auras that buff him up so that he is bigger, so you can get bigger creatures. And maybe they're heroes too, but you don't really have to make them heroes. You don't have discard options. B tier. It's hard to get things in your graveyard in white without putting them onto the battlefield and having them die. So it's hard to cheat. It's hard to cheat things into the graveyard. There's a few artifacts that let you discard cards. There's a few artifacts that let you mill. But yeah, that's stinky. That's stinky. It wants blue. It wants black. It wants green. It wants something. Red. Literally, it's the worst color for putting things in your graveyard, because the best way to do that in white is to put something on the battlefield and attack with it, which means you gotta play it the first time. You can't just cheat it. Quicksilver Speedster. Finally, a good Quicksilver. Flash, double strike, haste. As long as Quicksilver is tapped, you can cast non-creature spells. No, all spells. Holy sh! As though they had flash. It's a flash enabler. After it attacks, it's got flash on the name because it's the Flash, because Quicksilver is Marvel's Flash. I think that's really, really fun. And getting to cast spells on other people's turns is really strong. I'm actually going to say S tier for this one. Yeah, I'm tempted to build this one. This is a fun speedster, and this is a fun way to build a speedster. S tier. S tier. Good job. Do I like Loki Laufeyson? You can pay 1 and tap it to copy the next instant or sorcery you would cast if it has mana value less than Loki Laufeyson's power. Then you can power up Loki to put 2 +1/+1 counters on him for 5 mana. But if he came in this turn, that's only 3 extra mana for 2 +1/+1 counters. That's dog. I mean, you can get good value from it after you copy an instant or sorcery spell. But yeah, that's kind of dog C. We've had 2 She-Hulks so far, but what about another one? It's She-Hulk the Jade Defender. A lot of people think that Jade Empire was engaging in Orientalist stereotypes and that it's a bleak black mark on BioWare's sterling RPG record. But She-Hulk defends it. Troubling. Reach and Trample. She can get to the top shelf. 4/4/4/4. The power-up ability is 6 mana, and you can destroy target artifact or enchantment and put a +1/+1 counter on She-Hulk. Okay, so it's also, you can pay 2 mana to put a +1/+1 counter and destroy an artifact or enchantment if she enters this turn. It's not great. B tier, it's fine. No, C tier. It's competing with every other +1/+1 counter deck in mono green. C tier. It's not breaking through that. There are too many better options. Rick Jones, Destined Sidekick, costs 1 green mana. I like that about him. You can pay 3 and tap to mill 4 cards. Then you can grab a hero or an enchantment card from among those and put it into your hand. You can't put it onto the battlefield. You still have to pay for its mana cost, so you don't get to cheat it out. It's some card advantage and some mill. D tier. Hulk Bruce Banner, 7/4, trample, 5 mana. This one's simple. That's not good enough to build around. You need to do more things than trample. I'm glad it does have trample. There are Hulks without trample. D tier. Quicksilver, 3 mana, 3/2 haste. Not enough to build around. F tier. Why would you build this Quicksilver when you could build that other Quicksilver we just talked about that's actually cool? F tier. We're going to be getting a lot of quicker ones here because I think we're in the starter decks, which have deliberately bad cards because they're meant to play against the starter decks. But hey, what if you put good cards in there and then the good cards of the starter decks could play against the good cards of the starter decks? I know we're trying to keep them simple. It's fine. War Machine, James Rhodes, flying. Whenever it attacks, tap up to 1 target creature. F tier. It'd be decent in Hilda of the Icy Crown. Patriot, Young Avenger, has prowess, and as long as he's equipped, other creatures get +1/+0. This is Kellen the Fey-Blooded in the same color for the same mana cost, except you can also tutor an equipment or aura by paying 2 mana first, and also it's +1/+0 for each aura and equipment attached, and also it's also auras, and also it's double strike. F for Patriot. The cards are supposed to be bad. Well, then I'm going to give them F tier. Iron Man Tony Stark. 5 mana for a 3/3 with flying. Attacking creatures you control get +1/+0. And whenever you cast a red spell, you get to make a 2/1 robot hero artifact creature token. That's not that bad. And you could storm off in red pretty easily and make a bunch of robots. So hey, you know what? I'll say that's an A tier. Iron Lad, a character I like a lot. I dunked on him previously and I said, boo-hoo, another Iron Man. I don't want that. Iron Lad's f***ing cool. He's like Kang from the future, but he wanted to be nice and he called himself Iron Lad. Flying, and he makes non-creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Do you want Goblin Electromancer but for 1 more mana, but with flying? I don't know, maybe C tier. Hey, remember when I said Black Widow had good cards? Here's a vanilla 2/2 for 2, F tier. Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff, Menace, 2/3, F tier. Spider-Man, Hometown Hero. It's got reach, and when it enters, target creature with power 2 or less can't be blocked. You can get 2 damage in because you paid 5 mana. F tier. Another She-Hulk, Jennifer Walters. This one has trample, it doesn't have reach. I'm just kidding, let me read the rest of it. You can pay 3 and sacrifice a land to draw a card and put a +1/+1 counter on She-Hulk. Yeah, that's kind of... that might kind of work in like a Corvold, but otherwise it's a 4/4 for 4 with trample, and you have to get worse. You have to have a worse board state by getting rid of lands. You have to pay 3 mana to get rid of that land, which means that if you sacrifice enough lands, you just won't be able to activate this ability anymore. D tier. I'm weirdly happy it doesn't have reach. The Wasp keeps getting cards. For 3 mana, you get a 1/1 flyer that does 4 damage to a tapped creature an opponent controls. Someone attacked last turn, you can blow them up, and then you have a 1/1 flyer F tier. Poor Wasp. Hawkeye Clint Barton, 3/5 with Vigilance. I'm not even looking at the mana cost. If it cost 1, I wouldn't build around this. F tier. The Falcon, Sam Wilson, has flying. When it enters, put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control. It's 5 mana for 3/3. This is actually a commander where I don't mind the command cost being that high, because if the commander cost is high, you can spend turn building up all your army. So you have a lot of creatures. You've gone wide, so that +1/+1 counters hit harder. I'll put it in B tier. It's not that bad. The Immortal Weapons. When When it enters, you return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Costs 5 mana for a 4/4. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, target creature you control gets menace and +2/+0 until end of turn. That is a limitless effect, so as long as you can keep storming off in mono red, you can keep making it +2 bigger and more menacey. Menace is not trample, though one of the spells you could cast could be Monstrous Rage, and then you'd get trample, and it only costs 1 mana, and it helps your storm count. So, you know, mono red storm, it's a thing you can do. It's better when it has blue. B tier, 5 mana is a lot. Ant-Man Scott Lang, you can pay 4 mana to put a +1/+1 counter on a 2/2 for 2. F tier. Mockingbird Bobby Morse, whenever she's dealt damage, put a +1/+1 counter on her. You don't have a lot of ways to activate doing that damage, and she costs 4 mana for a 3/3, so that sucks. I'm putting it in F tier. Happy Hogan Dauntless Driver, pay 1 mana, get a 2/1 with nothing. F. Madam Hydra has Menace. It's a 2/2, but she gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard. Whenever she enters or attacks, you mill 2 cards. You build this around Conniving, you build this around Mill. She'll get big. She'll have Menace. That's a type of evasion, and she can hit decently hard. B tier. Ultimo Civilization's End has Menace. Whenever it enters, each opponent sacrifices a creature. You can also pay 3 to discard it. Each opponent sacrifices a creature of their choice. Well, guess what? Getting it into your hand to discard it sucks. That's an extra chore if this is your commander, and otherwise, yeah, this is just like a 6 mana, slightly better Accursed Marauder. You don't have to find that card, Corey. They know what it does. F tier. We're moving on. Boomerang the Blade Finger. For 2 mana, whenever he attacks, you do 1 damage to each opponent, and you gain 1 life. He has no evasion whatsoever, and he's a 1/3. Block him to win. F tier. Swordsman Sharp Scoundrel. It's a 2 mana 2/2. Whenever a villain you control enters, you can attach an equipment to target creature. And whenever an equipped creature you control attacks, it connives. So he connives when he attacks because he's got a sword, and he's a 2/2 for 2. And you play other villains, and then you get to attach your equipment for free. Pure Steel Paladin. We talked about it before. Just skip your equip costs. Costs 2 mana in white. You can't put this in this deck. D tier. Claw Sonic Subjugator. 3 mana for a 2/2. When it enters, target player reveals a number of cards from their hand equal to the number of creatures in your graveyard. +1. So sorry. Then they discard that card. This is only an enters effect. F tier. You can make them discard 1 card. Hooray. It's harder to blink in black. You have to kill him a bunch and bring him back. Not impossible, but it's annoying to do. And it's not really worth it because it's just discarding 1 card, and there's way better discard commanders in black. Gravitron Fundamental Force. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, you can choose to tap target creature, or give target creature you control flying until end of turn. You can only ever draw your second card each turn 1 time, which means you can never choose both of these abilities. This is a 3/3 for 3 that can fly, maybe, or can tap a creature. F. Blue Marvel Adam Brashear, sorry. That's a 5 mana flying ward 2 with a 3/5 body. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Blue Marvel. Drawing 2 cards per turn ain't that hard. 3/5 with some protection in the air, and also, you know, the air gives it evasion. Drawing cards is good, and building your deck around drawing cards will be good. I think there are more fun options. B tier. B for Blue Marvel tier. Peggy Carter, Secret Agent. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gets indestructible until end of turn. This is bad on its own. There are several cards in this set that whenever they attack alone, they just get indestructible already. So you don't need this one. This goes pretty hard in Ryu Storm's Edge. Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes, 1 mana for a 2/2. How did we ever do it? He enters tap. He can't block the turn he comes out. Then you have a 2/2 next turn. That can attack. F tier. Red Guardian Super Soldier has Flash. It's a 2/2 for 3 mana. When it enters, you destroy target creature that dealt damage this turn. So someone hits one of your things, you can play this 1 time, destroy 1 creature. F tier. F tier. Not good enough. Minotaur Roxanne CEO for 6 mana. You get a 4/4 with no abilities other than whenever Minotaur Roxanne CEO or another villain you control dies, you make a 2/1 villain with menace. You could play a lot of villains and probably find a sack outlet for them and then reanimate them and do it all again. It's probably fine if you want to do villain kindred and you want to mix in sack stuff. This would be fine. I don't think it's all that great. It costs 6 mana. I'm going to put it in B tier. Moon Boy Dino Rider. Moon Boy? No, only Moon Man. Don't show boys your butt. Show men your butt. Dinosaurs cost 1 less. Whenever it attacks while you control a dinosaur, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. It's a 2/2 for 2. It can be a 3/3 plated dinosaur. If you like dinosaurs and you like the color green and you want to build a green deck, you don't build this one, you build Galta F tier. Fabulous Frogman. For 3 mana, you get a 3/3 with reach. S tier. Atlas, sizable stooge. He's got reach, which means he can get to the top shelf. Whenever he attacks or blocks, you gain 1 life for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. He's a 5/4 who costs 4. 4 mana or greater is an archetype you can build around in Golgari colors. This isn't the commander you want to build around in those colors. You want to believe in yourself and do something better. C tier. Brawn Amadeus Cho. When he enters, draw a card, and he's got a power-up ability that lets you put a number of +1/+1 counters on him equal to the number of cards you've drawn this turn. Nope, it's the number of cards in your hand. If they ever change the rules and let hybrid mana be in different commander decks, I'd love to put this in my Kamala Khan deck. As it stands, it's fine. It encourages you to draw cards, but hey, why doesn't the Hulkling have trample? Every time they put a Hulk creature in without trample, or they put a member of the Ant-Man family in without some sort of evasion, I just get mad. C tier. Speaking of stature, Young Avenger with reach. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, she has base power toughness 4/4 until end of turn. She comes out as a 2/2 for 2. But if you cast a non-creature spell like Faithful Saluting, you can have a 4/4 with reach, so it can block better. F. Wiccan Young Avenger. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you can exile the top card of your library and play it until the beginning of your next end step. This is a good way to get card advantage in mono red. Until the end of your next step is kind of a bummer. I wish it was until the end of your next turn so that you could do it longer and you could have those cards out. But a lot of the things you're going to be casting are Seething Songs and mana boosts, and you get your Burgies and you get your Wanda and Visions that we'll talk about later that give you red mana, and you're going to get a lot of red mana. What you need is card advantage when you're trying to build a mono red storm deck. A tier. This still will work pretty darn good. Victor Mancha Runaway. When it enters, exile target card from your graveyard. You can play it as long as you control Victor Mancha. Colorless. F. 1 card from your graveyard. That's not very good. Sorry, Victor. Gert and Old Lace Runaways. It's got trample, and whenever it enters, you can discard a card, then go find a land and put it into your hand. Not onto the battlefield. That'd be too good. It's 3 mana for a 4/3 with trample, and you get a little more mana. Playing Gruul Dinosaurs, you can do better. D tier. Tiger Shark, Abyssal Hunter. You pay 4 mana, you get a 2/3. Whenever he enters or attacks, he connives, so you could actually get a 3/4. And then you can pay 5 mana to make it so that he can't be blocked this turn. When I built the Kamala Khan deck, there are a ton of 1-drop instants and sorceries, or even auras that make you unblockable for like 2 mana or less. You pay 5 mana each time. Oh, but Phil, if I get Training Grounds out, then it's only 3 mana. F. Bad. You can do that for cheaper. The Howling Commandos, 2 mana for a 3/1. You can pay 5 mana, and creatures you control get +1/+1 and nothing else until end of turn, unless they're a soldier, and then they also get Vigilance. You can pay that 5 mana as many times as you like in mono white, a color that struggles to go infinite with mana. If this were in, green, Simic, something that gets infinite mana pretty easily, I'd say it kind of cooks, but setting up an infinite mana combo in mono white is hard. So D tier. 5 mana for a +1/+1 isn't very good. Namora, the Sea Queen. Let's see if that's prophetic. 3 mana, 2/3 flying. Power up ability to put a +1/+1 counter and make 2 blue merfolk tokens. Hey, she's the Sea Queen for a reason. We're putting her in C. She'd do well in a Namor deck. Namor wants a bunch of merfolk, but paying 6 mana for a 3/4 and 2 merfolk with no abilities, no flying, no island walk, nothing like that. Kinda stinky. Living Lightning, charged up. I'm all charged up. For 5 mana, you get a 3/3 with flying and haste. At the beginning of combat on your turn, 1 other creature you control gets +1/+0 and haste until end of turn. It's worse Battle Cry. C tier. Fixer Techno Terror is 2 mana for a 2/1. You can tap it to pay 2 life and then draw 1 card. But you can only activate that if an artifact entered the battlefield under your control this turn. There are commanders that just draw you a card when you play an artifact. Infinite times. F tier. Black Tom Cassidy is mono green. F. Wolverine, claws out. He can assign combat damage as though he weren't blocked, but I do believe he still takes damage. And whenever a mutant you control attacks, you get to double its power until end of turn. Mutants in mono green, they're pretty good, and they're pretty good at getting big with +1/+1 counters. For a 2/5, yeah, he's got a kind of a big butt, and he just kind of gets through. 5, he could die though. He should have a regenerate ability because he's Wolverine. I'll say C tier. That's kind of cool. Lady Spider, Mabel Riley. You thought we had enough spiders in the Spider-Man set? Nope, we got another one. Reach. Whenever you discard a card, put a +1/+1 on this little spider. Nope. On target spider you control. So it can be a little bit better. It's a 2 mana, 1/3 with reach. D tier. It's a little bit better. Happy Hogan Bodyguard. There are 2 Happy Hogan cards, and I think that's 1 Happy Hogan too many. Obviously, I want to delete the mono red one, but this one costs 6 mana for a 3/3 with vigilance. Holy sh. Whenever he enters, the owner of target creature and opponent controls put it into their library second from the top or the bottom. This is for mono blue blink. You mono blue blink it and you make it a removal machine, and then you have a 3/3 with vigilance that can hit people after you've cleared the board and worked really hard to blink in mono blue instead of being Azorius. D tier. Falcon Joaquin Torres. This is not another Sam Wilson Falcon. This is Joaquin Torres. This is a different Falcon. Is he better? He's got flying. He's got lifelink. He's a 3 mana 2/2. He's got battalion. Whenever him and another 2 creatures attack, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on this creature and scry 1. Yeah, that's not very good. C tier. Donald Blake, Guise of Thor. Yeah, Thor has an alter ego in the comics. They just sort of abandoned that in the MCU, but he's got lifelink and he's got a power up that lets you put 2 +1/+1 counters and a flying counter on him, and then he becomes a God Warrior hero. So if you pay 6 mana, you can play Thor, or you could just play one of the other Thors. F tier. Dr. Spectrum has flying. Whenever he enters, you choose 1. Create a 0/4 colorless wall token with Defender. Put a +1/+1 counter on each other hero you control or destroy target enchantment. Mono, white, blink is a go, but for 5 mana, you can do better. D tier. Dr. Jane Foster. Remember the cool Jane Foster that had flying and a hammer and cool blink effects? This is her at the day job. She's got vigilance and she's a 2/3, which means if you have a generic bear, you need 2 bears to attack her to kill her. Whenever she enters, return target creature with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the hand. If you gain life, you get to put it on the battlefield instead, but it's only mana value 3 or less. So remember when I said that white isn't good at cheating things into the graveyard, and this stops you from cheating anything good anyway? F tier. Count Nefaria costs 7 mana, except it costs 3 less if you've sacrificed a permanent this turn, and it's a 6/6 with flying. I think it'll be good in standard. I think it's a boring-ish commander. F tier. Colossus Steel Stalwart. One of my favorite characters from the X-Men. Surely I'll love the design. During your turn, Colossus has indestructible, and on other people's turn, he's just J&O. He's just J&O in a little lounger. Then other mutants you control get +1/+1. Oh boy, it's Kindred support and bad indestructible for 5 mana on a 4/5. F tier. Sorry, Colossus. I think you're cool. Big Bertha. We got a Great Lakes Avenger in the mix. I love the Great Lakes Avengers. For X and a green, you get a Vigilant Big Bertha with X +1/+1 counters on her, and then you can pay 1 and tap to put a +1/+1 counter on Big Bertha. You can do that at instant speed, so you can wait to do it until an opponent's end step. +1/+1 counters are pretty big in green, but you know what else is pretty big in green? The ability Trample, something Big Bertha should be able to do. D tier. I like Big Bertha. I wanted her to be good, but she doesn't have Trample. Well, I can give her Trample. It's mono blue. I'll be very good at giving her Trample. Yeah, but like, come on. She doesn't just have to. She is stomping on a car and ripping it in half in the art. That doesn't say trample to you. Ant-Man, Reformed Rogue. Whenever you cast a green spell, Ant-Man gets +1/+0 and trample until end of turn. Whenever you cast a blue spell, Ant-Man gets -1/-0 and is unblockable until end of turn. And whenever it does combat damage to a player, you get to draw a card. This is a solid Ant-Man card. Let's go. It's got evasion. It's got trample. It's got different ways to play in different modes. I'm going to put it up in A tier. White Tiger Amulet Keeper costs 2 mana, but to do anything interesting, you pay 3 mana and exile it from your graveyard. Then you get to draw a card and put a land onto the battlefield. That is the Spell Explorer, which costs 2 mana. F. Whirlwind Killer Cyclone has haste. Whenever one or more creatures you control that enter this turn attack a player, target creature that player controls can't block until end of turn. It's a haste themed commander. Build around haste, have a lot of haste creatures, and then you can stop one of them from blocking. There are so many more interesting haste commanders. D tier. Victor Timely, the Wily Tycoon. I saw someone do art of the leader as Wily Coyote, and they missed it. They shot their load a little too fast. Whenever he enters, you can cast target instant, sorcery, or artifact from your graveyard with mana value 4 or less without paying its mana cost. And if it was an instant or sorcery, you exile it. So you want a Windfall, and then you want to Blink. And I think mixing Windfalling and Blinking into a single strategy is pretty cool. It would be cool if you didn't cost 5 mana to do it first. C tier. Valentina Allegra de Fontaine asks the question, why choose between Hero Kindred and Villain Kindred in the set that it revolves around 2 different Kindred types? Because all the villains are heroes in addition to their other types. She's building the Thunderbolts. You can tap her to have target hero you control connive. Otherwise, she's a 2/3 for 3 mana. And she can make heroes you control connives, and you can mix Hero Kindred and Villain Kindred together in a color that only has Villain Kindred. C tier. Wolfsbane, Highland Hero. For 2 mana, you get a 2/2 with Trample. Then you can pay 3 mana. Wolfsbane gets 2/2 until end of turn. Activate only once per turn. Was almost decent. And then they added that activate only once per turn in the color that has so much mana that I thought, oh, well, this could be pretty cool. I don't think this can be pretty cool. D tier. Titanium Man. Whenever he attacks, choose 1. He gains flying until end of turn, or he does 1 damage to any target. He costs 4 mana for a 3/4. 4 mana for a 3/4 with flying would be like fine, but you wouldn't build a commander around it though. F tier. Storm Shaker of the Skies. Aurora Monroe hates airplanes. Flying. When she enters, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. 6 mana for a 4/3. That's hot ass. F tier. Songbird Sonic Screamer. 2 mana, 2/1 lifelink. You can discard a card to give Songbird flying until end of turn. B tier. Why am I saying B tier? Well, because she lets you discard a card whenever you want. And if you can build your deck around enjoying discarding cards, you could really enjoy having a free discard outlet. And for 2 mana, a free discard outlet, if you're building your deck around discarding cards, yeah, B tier. Mr. Immortal. How can you see into my eyes like open doors? That's Bring Me to Life. That's not my Immortal. You can pay 3 mana to return Mr. Immortal from the graveyard or exile to the battlefield. He's a 2/1 otherwise. You never have to worry about the command zone. You never have to worry about command tags. He is mono green Squee. I wouldn't build a deck around Squee. C tier. While we're here, let's talk about other Great Lakes Avengers. Doorman. I love the Great Lakes Avengers, guys. Tap him, and target creature you control can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, or by walls until end of turn. Can still be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater. This is hot. F tier. Flatman. 4 mana. It's a 1/10. You can pay 3 mana to switch his power and toughness until end of turn. Swing in with him, and if someone says, yeah, it's fine, I'll let a 1 damage come through, switch it. It's 10 now. It's funny. It's not good. C tier. X23, Deadly Mutant. Whenever another mutant you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature and a +1/+1 counter on X23. It's so simple. It's +1/+1s. Mutants tend to like +1/+1s so far. This is pretty darn good. A tier. Shuri, Vibranium Technologist, has Vigilance, and whenever she enters, choose 1. You can make a 1/1 colorless robot creature with flying, or you can draw a card. Put her in a blink deck, she's fine. She draws you more cards. As her own blink deck, she'd be fine. She draws you more cards. C tier. You can do better. She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, cannot reach the top shelf. Vigilance, no trample. Bullshit. I hate it. 3/3 for 3. You can pay 7 mana for the power-up ability, or you can pay 4 mana if she came in this turn and put a +1/+1 counter onto She-Hulk. Then you can double the number of +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. Hey, that's not bad, except I think that's a sorcery that costs like 3 mana, so I think that's kind of overcosted. I'm going to go ahead and say, with no trample, and with no reach. That's why I'm really saying D tier. Rescue Pepper Potts. Why is she in trouble? Flash and flying. A lot of flash flying blues in here. 2 mana for a 2/1. Whenever she enters, we return 1 target artifact or creature you control to its owner's hand. If it was an artifact, put a +1/+1 counter on rescue. So you can have it flash in and save something that was attacking because you did something stupid, or you wanted an attack trigger and you didn't want to build around ninjas and use sneak or ninjutsu. F. Photon, Lady of Light. Flying, whenever it attacks, exile up to 1 target creature you control and return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. It's a blink. It's mono white blink. This would be a good mono white blink option. A tier. It's like Felia, but it takes longer to get out and it flies. And that's, you get it, it flies, and that's better. Pharaoh Ramatut as Ward 2, where we cast a non-creature spell. Pharaoh Ramatut. Connives. Conniving in blue, pretty good strategy. Paying 5 mana for your commander, pretty shitty strategy. C tier. Nighthawk. Dark Defender. Who the f is this? Flying, whenever Nighthawk or another hero you control enters, target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Oh, look, we're back in the Jumpstart. Oh no, Jumpstart's good. This should be better. D tier. Miss Marvel, Elastic Ally. Is it better than the other Miss Marvel? Let's find out. It's got reach. Whenever Miss Marvel enters, target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Whenever a creature you control with power greater than its base power deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. That is the effect that is on one of the cats from Ixalan. That card, though, doesn't say this ability triggers once per turn, and I think it costs about the same amount of mana. C tier, D tier. I don't want to put her in D tier because Kamala Khan's my girl. D tier. Darwin, Adaptive Mutant. The mutant who will adapt to survive anything and dies in X-Men First Class because the villain says, oh yeah, adapt to this. Why couldn't he? He's got Evolve. Remove 2 +1/+1 counters and he becomes indestructible. Evolve is not enough to build a commander deck around. F. Mach 1, Swooping Scoundrel. It's got flying whenever it enters, and whenever you gain life, you get to surveil 1, except actually that ability only triggers once per turn. Otherwise, it's a 1/3 with flying. F. Foggy Nelson on Retainer. I hardly know her. Flash, whenever he enters, put a +1/+1 counter on another target creature you control. It gets hexproof until end of turn. That's right, Foggy Nelson is your attorney. Do not answer questions. Remember, it's shut the up Friday. You have your 5th Amendment right, and you can just plead that and wait for your lawyer to show up. If this is your lawyer, though, and you're fighting like Dr. Doom, you're pretty boned. This is a 1/3 for 3 mana. That's not very good. F tier. F for Foggy. Electra Femme Fatale costs 4 mana for a 3/2. When it enters, you can have it do 2 damage to you. You can literally have her step on you, and then she does 4 damage to each opponent. She's not great. C tier, but she goes great in another deck that's going to show up later. Dragon Man Reformed Robot. 4 mana. It's Azorius. It's got flying. Its power is equal to the greatest mana value among non-creature permanents in your graveyard or on your board. And you can cast it from the graveyard by discarding a card in addition to its other costs, which means this has a way to get around commander tax. It can have a very big power by discarding an artifact or a planeswalker, perhaps. I think that's pretty solid. I'm going to put this up in A. Definitely a lot of build potential here. Namor, Atlantean King, is also Azorius, but he only costs 3 mana. He's got flying, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you make a 1/1 blue merfolk. And whenever he attacks a player who has more life than you, other creatures attacking that player get +2/+0 until end of turn, which means you'll be swinging in with 3/1 merfolk that probably still get chumped because they have the 1 toughness, but if they get through, they'll do more damage. B tier. I kind of think the mono blue Namor is better. It's simpler. I think, actually, wait, I think this is just that with more colors and more things on it. I don't remember. B tier. Herbie, Lovable Robot. 2 mana colorless commander. It's got flying in at the beginning of combat on your turn. If you cast a non-creature spell, you get to surveil. You can also tap it for 1 colorless mana, or you can pay 1 and tap it for 1 mana of any color, which lets you filter mana. If this is your commander, it's colorless. So it's a 2 mana dork as a commander. D tier. The Fantastic card is the first vehicle commander, but it's not the last. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, the Fantastic card becomes a creature until end of turn. That would be a 4/4. And whenever you cast your 4th non-creature spell each turn, you can sacrifice this and make a 4/4 construct. The construct blocked, has haste and flying, so you can make more flying hasters with 4/4 if you cast 4 non-creature spells, which is 4 artifact spells, which should be really, really easy in colorless. I say in colorless as though that gives you more options. It doesn't, but it kind of limits your options to only playing mana rocks. So overall, you got commander tax. Though if you're playing mana rocks, you can use your mana rocks to get around the commander tax by paying more mana. I don't know. D tier. Willie Lumpkin, Postman. Wow, we've had men. I'm so happy to be Postman. He can't be blocked whenever he does combat damage to another player. You get to draw a card, they get to draw a card, and if they draw that card, they can't attack you with permanents they control. Honestly, just can't be blocked on a 2-drop 1/3. Pretty good. Getting card advantage on the draw, pretty good. You could build up a bunch of equipment and Voltron this up to do some serious commander damage and win that way. I'll put it at B tier. Medusa, Inhuman Queen, has Vigilance and Reach. Whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, you put a +1/+1 counter on her, and that is any player casting a non-creature spell. She is unfortunately mono green, and you only have control over your deck, but I'll still say A tier because that's going to get pretty big pretty fast, and you can swing out and block with it really, really well. A tier. Good job, Medusa. Black Bolt, Inhuman Queen. We've seen your more interesting wife. Now let's see the boring man she married. Flying. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, he gets +2/+2 until end of turn, and whenever Black Bolt becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you get to destroy a target non-land permanent that opponent controls. So whenever people try to remove him, he basically has ward. I get to pick to destroy what you have, and you can storm off and make him really big and fly in over the top and kill people with him. Solid A tier. Nothing wrong with it. Crystal, Inhuman Princess, is probably worse. She costs 3 mana, and it looks like she's Gruul, except she's actually all 4 colors if she's your commander, because she can tap for all 4 colors. She's got flying, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you do X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of colors in that spell. There are very few 4-color non-creature spells, maybe 0 that I'm aware of. This will also work pretty well with 3-color spells and could work well if you just build to ramp and build around like Leyline of Abundance and Badger Mole Cub. Those are some expensive cards. Well, one of them's expensive, one of them's dirt cheap. And you just build ramp and then you cast spells, and you can cast a bunch of the ultimatum spells, which are cool. I think the Bont one would be dog for this, and it's kind of dog in commander, but the other 3 that you could cast, Jeskai, and the other 2 would be cool. Moving on. Power Pack, Flying, Vigilance, Trample, Haste, 1 keyword for every color, and all of the colors except black. Whenever it does combat damage to a player, you get to exile an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard at random, and then you get to play that at the beginning of your next upkeep. So it's Spell Slinger in 4 colors that are all pretty good at spell slinging. S tier. Yeah, I think this one's S tier. Alicia Masters, Skilled Sculptor. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you've cast a non-creature spell this turn, you get a treasure token. At the beginning of your end step, all permanents, nope, just creatures, return to their owner's control. This is good for Humble Defector, and I am sure other cards, but I don't know them off the top of my head, and I feel like it being mono red kind of limits it, so I'm going to say C. Franklin Richards, Ascendant, one of the only Magic cards that has canonically played Magic the Gathering. He's a 6-drop 6/6, and at the beginning of your end step, if you have cast a non-creature spell this turn, you get to discover 6. It's Camille the Inner Sun, except it doesn't stop your spells from being countered, and it can be in the command zone, and you have to do a little bit more work for it, but come on, you can cast a non-creature spell. Oh, I guess you have to do it before your combat, not on your end step. I lied. It's Camille the Inner Sun at the beginning of your combat, which is faster, so you can react to it in your post-combat main phase. Okay, that might be better. I'll put it at A tier. Franklin's pretty busted. Actually, 6 mana. I'll put it at B tier. That's a high commander cost. Valeria Richards, Precocious. 4 mana non-creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. And whenever you cast your first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card, encouraging you to cast things at flash speed or instant speed, as it's called in mono blue. Real comic fans will know that she belongs in a Dr. Doom deck, not because of any synergy, but because that's her real dad, who really raised... No, not really. Reed does a fine job. It's just Dr. Doom. It's adorable that Dr. Doom wants to protect this child. 10 out of 10 for that storyline. Otherwise, this is fine. It's kind of Baral coded, which is gross. B tier. Lockjaw! Slobbering Teleporter. It's got Vigilance, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you've cast a non-creature spell, Lockjaw on another target creature, get +1/+1, and are unblockable until end of turn. It's a +1/+1 counter. Sorry, I misspoke. Is that good? Yeah, he teleports you in and gets you damage. I kind of think that it should also blink a little bit. I was kind of hoping this would be like Felia, Exuberant Shepherd, but in blue. It's not, but I still like it. I still like Lockjaw. We'll say B tier. Council of Reeds makes it so the legend rule doesn't apply to legends you control, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you've cast a non-creature spell, you make a copy of the Council of Reeds, which means you want to build this around making copies of the Council of Reeds, and then I think some water bending. Huh? How about the secret of blood bending? And when you've had so many reeds that all make copies of themselves and make copies of themselves, you can water bend, and then you can secrets of blood bending and control another player's turn. There's another water bending one that gives you an extra turn after this one, so you can get more reeds, so you can tap for more water bending effects. Reed is the best water bender A tier. Silver Surfer, Galactus's Herald, has flying, and when it enters, you can tutor for Galactus. When he does combat damage to a player until your next turn, you get to choose where a creature attacks, which matters for Galactus. We're going to talk about Galactus because it's for Galactus. This is to direct Galactus, who is a 10 mana, 12/12 with flying, trample, indestructible. And when he enters, he exiles a target permanent. He attacks at random unless he is told to attack not randomly, which is from the Silver Surfer. I think Silver Surfer is the better commander to go get you Galactus, because Galactus can't get you the Silver Surfer, and otherwise you're just trying to build up to 10 mana and then hoping that Galactus will swing at the person who has the least life 2 times in a row and they'll die to commander damage. It's kind of a lot to hope for, and I don't think that's great. So I think it's better to have Silver Surfer as your commander. He is still 5 mana, and then you got to find a way to get to 10 mana to get Galactus out. So C tier Galactus, B tier Silver Surfer. Taskmaster, Mercenary Mimic. Can't wait to see the Alex Horn card. Am I right, gamers? At the beginning of your upkeep, he becomes a copy of a creature that's on the board. It doesn't have to be necessarily your board, or in the graveyard. He's in Dimir, colors that are great at throwing things in the garbage. Very similar to Lazav. Lazav is a good commander. Throw a bunch of Eldrazi in your garbage can. He becomes an Eldrazi. He doesn't get their enters effects because he's already on the battlefield, but still pretty good. Lazav is good. S tier. Everk Ross, Hapless Attaché. Commander creatures you control get +1/+1 and lifelink. If he's your commander, that's him. Whenever an opponent attacks you with 2 or more creatures, you get to draw a card. This is Mangara the Diplomat, I think, but probably a little bit worse. Mangara the Diplomat is not like a great commander. B tier. Not a bad commander, it's just like kind of boring. It's just kind of stacks, or it's a pillow fort kind of thing that you'd want to build around. Crimson Cowl, the Master of Evil. Wish it was Crimson Chin, if you know what I'm talking about. I think Fairly Odd Parents is kind of mid. It didn't hold up well into late seasons, and it was never as good as SpongeBob. Anyway, whenever one or more non-token villains you control attack a player, you make a 2/1 black villain creature with Menace. Say, that's a pretty easy way to get a lot of villains, especially if they have evasion, and this is 3 mana. I think that's a not bad way to build a board state. I'll put that up at A tier. Citizen V, Helmet Zemo. For 3 mana, you get a 2/2 with lifelink, and whenever you gain a life, you put a +1/+1 counter on each villain you control, not just this villain. So you can spread that love around. He doesn't have any evasion. If he gets blocked by 2 toughness, he dies. I mean 2 power. I meant to say 2 power. You know that's what I meant. Put him in C tier. Zarda the Power Princess, 4 mana. Flying and other heroes you control have Exalted, which means that if any creature on your board attacks alone, it gets +1/+1 for each hero you have. 2/4, and heroes in white. There seems to be a lot of those. You know, we could talk about the bias there, but I'll put this up in A tier. Spreading Exalted around is kind of cool. Hammerhead, Maga Boss. No, Magia Boss, as in like the Mafia, but it's with a G. Sacrifice another creature or artifact, put a +1/+1 counter on Hammerhead. It's Bartolome del Presidio. We did a whole video on that, and this is worse because it doesn't have access to white. It's worse as a commander, but it's better to be included in other things, so don't play this. Play Bartolome, and because there is just a strictly better version of this card that lets you have access to white in addition to your black mana, I've gotta say C. White Widow, Yelena Belova, has Death Touch, and whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals combat damage to a player, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on it. That's not very good or exciting. D tier. Wasp, Shrinking Savior, flying, and whenever Wasp attacks, up to 1 other target creature gets -3/-0 until end of turn. Then you get to draw a card for each creature with power 0 or less that's on the battlefield. Build this around walls. Put up a bunch of walls that all have 0 power. And I guess you get to draw a bunch of cards on combat. I feel like there's easier ways to draw cards on combat, and walls are kind of boring and kind of bad. C. Goliath, Mass Manipulator. And this is a mass manipulator as in he manipulates his mass, not he manipulates the public and foments bigotry. For 2 mana, you get a 2/2 with Reach, but for 5 mana, you can put 2 +1/+1 counters on him, bringing him to power 4, and then draw a card for each creature you control with power 4 or greater if you use that power-up ability. There are more interesting 4/4 commanders, but if you really like Goliath, go ahead, C tier. C tier, I feel like I'm saying C tier for a lot of things that are like, it's not good, but you could do it. Vulture, Feathered Fiend, flying, 4 mana for a 2/4. Whenever one or more creatures you control with flying deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on each of those creatures and draw a card. Hey, there's a lot of flyers in mono blue. A lot of little pinging flyers that could get quite big and to draw you a lot of cards. I'm gonna call this one an A tier. Vision Spectral Synthesoid. For 8 mana, you get a 2/5 with flying, and once during each of your turns, you can cast a non-creature or robot spell from your hand without paying its mana cost, which is pretty cool, and you could cheat some stuff out with it. Getting to 8 mana in mono blue kind of sucks. So I'm going to go ahead and put that at B tier. Viper, Cruel Conspirator. For 2 mana, you get a 2/2. You can pay 1 black, and to target creature that's attacking alone gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Or you can pay 1 black mana and target a creature that's attacking alone gets Death Touch and Lifelink. It's your choice of one of those until end of turn. I don't think that's very good. D tier. Just having to do the mana for that. You should get to keep the +1/+1 counter. She should also have green, because she's a Viper, because she's a snake, and they're green, and they would let you keep the +1/+1 counter if she was a green and a black instead of just mono black. Alex Wilder, Run Away. He smells. 2 mana, 1/3. Whenever it or another creature enters, if you cast it from anywhere other than your hand, it gets +2/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. It's got an escape cost of 3 mana and exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. Impulse drawing is fun in mono red, but there are much better impulse draw commanders that get you more permanent value that doesn't go away. I'm talking about Araxa, Empress of Mars. That's my standard for this. That's my standard for this archetype, and Alex didn't measure up. C tier. Thor, Asgard's Avenger. Flying for a 4/4, you pay 4, and then if another source you control would do damage to an opponent, it does that much damage +1 instead. Unfortunately, this is locked to opponents and cannot increase the amount of damage you are dealing to yourself. Why would you want that? For an interesting card I'm going to talk about later. It's Red Burn, and Red Burn is good. There's other Red Burn that's better. Torbrand is probably better for the same amount of mana. Yeah, because it doesn't fly, but it does 2, and 2 is more than 1. Torbrand is just better than this. If you're running a mono red commander, almost all your mana is going to be red anyway. Doesn't matter. This is one colorless, and doesn't matter. This is flying. C tier. The Wizard Classic Speedster. We'll do this fast. First strike, haste, 3/3 for 4. Not good enough. D. Sauron Dino Devotee is one of the funniest cards ever printed. For 5 mana, you get a 4/4 flyer. Whenever it enters attacks, you can cure cancer, which is gain 3 life. Apparently the cure for cancer is a food token. I think they tried that. Or you can turn people into dinosaurs by putting a Saurian counter on the creature, and it becomes a 5/5. And it's just a 5/5. It doesn't have trample or flying or anything like that. I think it's really, really funny that it's not good to build around life gain in mono green. You want white for it. So even though you can cure cancer, you will want to turn people into dinosaurs as your strategy. Props to you if you find a way to make cure cancer the strategy for this. I actually kind of want to try and do that, and I'll play it for like a charity stream where we're raising money to help people with cancer. Yeah, maybe I'll set that up. But as it stands, A tier. I think it's still really funny. And if you do the make people into dinosaurs, it's not bad. Stick, Fearless Mentor. It's a 2-drop. First strike, 2/1. Whenever a source you control does damage to you, you get to exile the top card of your library and play that until end of turn. Building a deck around damaging yourself, you'd have to be some sort of daredevil to do that. I don't think this is very good as a commander because it only activates once per turn, so you get like an extra card, or I guess 4 extra cards per turn cycle. And boy howdy, I hope you don't have any not instants in the deck in red. Very sorcery heavy color. Yeah, I'm gonna put this at D tier, but remember it for later. Spider-Man, new champion, 3 mana, 3/3 with the reach, and whenever you discard 1 or more cards, Spider-Man does that much damage to any target. You can point that damage wherever. Mono red wheels. Anyone? Sounds like fun. It does sound like fun. And this is 3 mana. Comparing it to Brawlin, Skyshark Rider, that's 4 mana. This is 1 less, so this is the same rate as like Glinthorn Buccaneer, and it's Glinthorn Buccaneer in the command zone, or at least the part of Glinthorn Buccaneer I care about. I like Glinthorn Buccaneer a lot. I bucking love it. This is gonna get an A tier. I think it's fun. Silver Surfer, I hardly know her. Cosmic Voyager, I hardly know her. Flash Flying, 6 mana, 5/5. Whenever it enters, you can exile any number of target permanents you control and then return those to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. Lands entering this way enter tapped unless you have Spelunking out, which you don't, because if this is your commander, it's mono blue and Spelunking is green. Don't even look for the card, Corey. It's not worth putting up for a second. It's another Blinky Boy, and it's a Blinky Boy in mono blue. I think blue is getting a lot of blink support in this set, so I'm going to go ahead and say A tier. Hey, remember how I said there were green Shang-Chis? This is a green Shang-Chi. Martial Mentor costs 5 mana. It's a 4/4. If one or more +1/+1 counters would be put on a creature you control, put that many +1/+1 counters on it twice. Double it. You get to double it. The power-up ability for 7 mana, or as it comes in to colorless mana, is put 3 +1/+1 counters on Shang-Chi, which becomes 6 +1/+1 counters on Shang-Chi, which makes him a 10. Because, get it? Like Shang-Chi is really good looking, so you'd call him a 10 out of 10, and also the 10 rings. Yeah, this is a doubler for +1/+1 counters. It's branching evolution in your command zone, but it costs 2 more mana. That kind of sucks. I kind of think power-up abilities in general kind of suck. C tier. Rhino, Terrible Trampler. Let me be the judge of that. For 6 mana, oh, well, we're on the way. It's got Trample and it's a 7/6, already not funny. When Rhino enters, destroy target artifact or land and distribute 3 +1/+1 counters among 3 other target creatures, not Rhino, and then it makes them trample. Yeah, I don't know if that's enough for 6 mana. I think you probably want something other than an enters effect and a generic Trampler. I'll say C tier. Sorry, Rhino. Is Reed Richards the smartest man? Well, this card says so. Well, yeah, I guess Moon Girl's a girl, so he is the smartest man. Way to milk a technicality, Reed. For 6 mana, you get a 2/4 with reach and no maximum hand size. Kamala Khan does that for 3 mana, no big deal. The first time you would draw a card each turn, except for your first card, you draw during each of your draw steps. You draw 4 cards instead. Oh, holy oh, God. Oh, I'm reading this card for the first time. It's Teferi's Super Ageless Insight, or Vinxatwix, the most verbosest host of the most. Okay. Teferi's Ageless Insight costs 4 mana. This costs 6 mana, but you also get a blocker, and it's twice as much card draw. God. 6 mana in blue is steep, but I gotta say A tier. And that's going in Kamala Khan. Radioactive Man, for 5 mana, you get Death Touch. It's a 3/5, and whenever it does combat damage to a player, is combat damage to a player? Yep, combat damage to a player, they lose half their life rounded up. It's got Death Touch. People aren't going to want to block it, but if they don't block it, they will lose half their life, so they will block it, and it's only a 3/5, which means it's going to die kind of fast, and people aren't going to like that it's on the battlefield, so I'm going to say C tier. Nick Fury, Spy Master. For 5 mana, you get a 4/4 with First Strike. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, you get to draw a card, then put a creature card from your hand with mana value 3 or less onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. It gains Indestructible and haste until end of turn. It doesn't actually get haste until end of turn. I lied. It's just already tapped and attacking, and it's indestructible, so you don't have to worry about it dying and getting blocked and stuff. And you know what? I think this is probably the commander you want for all of those creature attacks alone in mono white. If you're trying to build that deck, this is the one you want. I still don't think it's all that great because 5 mana is a lot, and you want to attack with more than 1 creature, or I guess in this case 2 creatures, with one of them having to be mana value 3 or less. I'll say A though. I think it's interesting. You could do something cool with it. Namor, Scourge of the Seas, for 5 mana, a flyer with 4/4 power toughness. Each merfolk you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has flying. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control connives. They've decided Namor's a villain for this set. I guess that's just what we do now. He was one of the first Marvel heroes, and you know what? You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a mid-magic card. Yeah, I don't know. You're not making other merfolk with this, so you need the other Namor to make the other merfolk, to give them the connive, to give them the flying, and quite frankly, I'd just start with those Namor instead and put this in the 99 of those Namors. C tier. Matt Murdock, Justice Seeker, Daredevil. What a cool character. Let's get his day job. 2 mana, 2/2. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you can pay 1. When you do, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, and each creature you control with a counter on it has ward 1. He gives you a good defense, a good solid legal defense. This is a game where monsters murder each other, Matt. They don't care that the cops violated my Third Amendment right, Matt. My Third Amendment right. Yeah, the cops tried to quarter soldiers in my house without my permission. Machine Man, Model X51. At 4 mana for a 2/3. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Machine Man and he gains flying. Holy Non-creature spells are artifacts. In colorless, you can do that a lot. That's probably what you want to do in colorless. Still, don't think that this is all that great. There's better flying colorless commanders. C tier. Luke Cage, hero for hire. Would you hire this man? Nintendo, hire this man. 4 mana, 4/4, trample. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you make a treasure token. You get 1 extra mana. And you have a 4/4 with trample and no indestructible, despite that being Luke Cage's power. Why do they hate Luke Cage? They hate Luke Cage here. I think he's bad in the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games, or at least according to the one tier list I saw on the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games, they said that Luke Cage wasn't very good. And I trust that because that's the only tier list I've ever seen, and I don't know the meta, but I do like the game. I'm going to say D tier. That's kind of boring. Loki, Lord of Misrule. For 4 mana, you can pay 1 and to tap it to choose target creature you control, and each other creature you control becomes a copy of that creature until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Other than that, it's a 3/4. Oh, also the copies aren't legendary, so you can copy legendary creatures. This could be fun. You could get some funny stuff out with this. Yeah, okay, I mean, right now I'm just thinking of Miss Marvel Kamala Khan, and I want to put it into Miss Marvel Kamala Khan, but there's not actually that many creatures in that deck. Hopefully you watched the video. Corey put a thumbnail up for it. Thank you! A tier. Jack of Hearts. For 3 mana, it's a 2/2 with flying and haste, and whenever he dies, he does damage equal to his power to each creature. For 6 mana, you can discard your hand, then draw 3 cards and put 2 +1/+1 counters on Jack of Hearts, making him a 4/4. So now when he dies, he'll do 4 damage to each creature. You can get Repercussion out and then sacrifice him somehow. That could be funny. It could be a funny way to kill people with 1 enchantment that doesn't have a similar card, so you can run redundancies in the deck. C tier. Iron Fist, hero for hire. If he's better than Luke Cage, I'm gonna scream. 2 mana, trample prowess, already looking better. Power up, 7 and a red. Iron Fist does 5 damage. Divide it as you choose among any targets. Put 5 +1/+1 counters on him. Of course, that costs 2 less if you end this turn, so you don't have to pay 5 for it. Trample and prowess and mono red's pretty good. Mono Red Storm's pretty good. He's better than Luke Cage. I'll put him up at A tier. He's good at fighting. Be better if he had blue. I actually can't really justify Iron Fist having blue. A lot of the times when I've said, this card would be better if it had this color, I can say, well, yeah, and it probably should have that color. But in Iron Fist case, I don't see him having blue. If anything, I see him having green. Kingpin, Wilson Fisk has Menace. He's a 3/6, and whenever you sacrifice Kingpin or another creature, you make 2 treasure tokens. This ability activates only once each turn. Most sack outlets are instant speed. Talking Viscera Seer, talking Ashnod's Altar, talking Phyrexian Altar. That'll be able to get you like 8 treasures per cycle. This is probably a better Kingpin than the other Kingpin, or maybe I just like it more because it feels more crimey and less big ass-y. And I guess he also has a big, he's a 3/6. He's got a bigger than the other Kingpin. He's been eaten. Good for him. A tier. Impossible, man. Building a commander deck for this would be impossible, man. A 3 mana flying 1/4. You can pay 3 mana and it becomes a copy of target permanent until end of turn, except its name is Impossible Man. So you can use this to copy things that have legendary, and then it'll still be Impossible Man, and it won't be any different. You can get Training Grounds, and now you can do this for a blue mana. I think you probably want this in the 99 of a deck of something you want to copy, like the new Reed Richards. So I'm going to go ahead and say, Council of Reeds. Some of the Reed Richards is too. Oh, yeah, the ×4 draw. Reed Richards. Oh, God. Oh, that's 16 cards per card. Impossible Man, D tier. Good in 99. Hulk Strongest There Is. We'll see about that. 4 mana, 3/3. Don't think so. Trample and Hulk enters with a +1/+1 counter on him. Okay, so he's a 4/4 for 4. And at the beginning of your upkeep, double the number of +1/+1 counters on gamma creatures you control. Gamma creatures include Hulk, Abomination, She-Hulk. In mono green, I think it's just Hulks and maybe a She-Hulk. I don't think there's a ton of gamma creatures in mono green because there's not a ton of gamma creatures. So overall, B tier. Because even if we're just doubling the counters on him, that'll get pretty big pretty fast. Hawkeye Bowslinger, 3 mana, reach Vigilance. Whenever you cast a spell that targets a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on Hawkeye and scry 1. That doesn't have to be a creature you control. Path of Exile, Swords to Plowshares. You get a +1/+1 and you get to scry. Mono white Spell Slinger. Don't know about that. I don't know about the support for that. I'm going to go ahead and say C tier. Giant Man, Gargantuan Genius. 5 mana with reach, no trample, despite being 6/6 and stepping over a goddamn bridge in the art. At the beginning of your first main phase, add a green mana for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. This can get out of hand pretty fast with things like Terror of Calcisma and other 4 mana things, so you can get the biggest 4 mana things. This is a pretty good power 4 or greater commander. I'll put it up at A. General Thunderbolt Ross, 1/1 for a 1 with first strike. He's all about that 1, except when he attacks with 2 other creatures, because then attacking creatures get +1/+0 until end of turn. He can be a 2/1 with first strike. F. Nico Monroe, Runaway, 4 mana. This is from Jumpstart. I think the Runaways are a mono red exile theme. That's pretty cool. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, Nico Monroe deals 2 damage to each opponent. That's pretty fun. You can pay 3 mana, tap it, and discard a card. Exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card and cast that card without paying its mana cost. Oh my! What? Oh. Okay. I was like, oh, you can play that until end of turn. Kind of sucks you had to pay 3 mana for it. No, you're paying 3 mana for any spell that happens to show up. You can just fill this with big dumb spells and haste enablers. Get one of those haste enablers out before you get Nico Monroe out, and then every turn after that, you just go nuts. You just go nuts, and you just geez. I'm gonna say A tier mostly because I think you'll run out of cards in hand if you're discarding a card every turn. Playing a land, yeah, you'll run out of cards kind of quick. So you gotta also find ways to fill your hand back up. And red's not the best at doing that, because usually if you draw cards, you have to get rid of cards. I'll say A tier. I still think it's really fun. We made it! We made it to the next commander that I think is so god dang cool. Do I think this card is all that good? No, but I do think it's tremendously funny to build a commander deck around. Daredevil, Fearless Fighter, 3 mana for a 3/3. Whenever a source deals damage to you that you control, Daredevil does that much damage to target opponent, which means we're gonna build this deck around ways to burn ourselves. It's basically this.
I'm kicking my ass, do you mind?
That's the strategy. Also, Jim Carrey was playing a lawyer in that movie, so it's double funny. Whenever Daredevil attacks, there's a second paragraph I don't care about, but you exile the top card of your library, and you take damage equal to the mana value of that spell, and then Daredevil does that to a target opponent, and that's neat, and that's cool, but I think it's just more cool that we're going to build around burning ourselves. Something I want to talk about, and I'll talk about in a YouTube short you've already probably seen. Fiery Emancipation and World on Fire. Sorry, City on Fire. World on Fire is the Daredevil thing. City on Fire and Fiery Emancipation triple the damage of sources you control. Now, this triples the damage to you. So if you have something like a Mana Barbs making your mana tap 1 and do 1 damage to you, it will do 3 damage to you instead because of your Fiery Emancipation, which gets more interesting because Daredevil sees that you took 3 damage. And then Daredevil says, I'm gonna do 3 damage to someone. And then City on Fire says, no, I'm gonna triple that and you're gonna do 9 damage to someone. So those are effects you need in this deck to make sure that you're putting out more damage than you're taking, so you know you don't die first. And then also get things with lifelink like Basilisk Collar and Shadow Spear and Loxodon Warhammer. Find ways to tutor for those. It might get a little expensive. You want Urza's Saga, it can get you Shadow Spear, it can get you Basilisk Collar, and makes you like 3 times more likely to get those out during the game, so that again the lifelink heals you back up. Anyway, this is probably only B tier, but in my heart, put it up with Kamala Khan. Put it up in S tier. I think it's sick and I love Matt Murdock. Ultron the Annihilator. I hardly know her. 5 mana. Does not have Annihilate. 3/4. Flavor Fail. Flying. Whenever it enters or attacks, create a 2/2 colorless robot token. That doesn't fly. Ultron's new robots are walking to work. Whenever another artifact is put into the graveyard or another artifact card is put into the graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. What does this mean? Your tokens, your robot tokens, yeah, those stop at the graveyard when they die on the way out. So if they get blocked and they die, you're still doing 1 damage to each opponent. If you mill or discard artifacts, that also does damage to your opponents. This is basically Artifact Sir Conrad with flying for the same amount of mana and no mill option. Sir Conrad's a really good commander though. B tier? A tier. A tier. For Annihilator, which it doesn't have. Captain Marvel is a shooting star. For 7 mana, you get a 6/6 with flying. And whenever Captain Marvel enters or attacks, you get to exile up to 1 other target creature. That creature's controller gains life equal to its power. So every time Captain Marvel attacks, she just hits Swords to Plowshares for free. I mean, it was only a 1 mana spell, but repeating that over and over again is really good. Except also, whenever another creature other than Captain Marvel is exiled from the battlefield, you also gain life equal to its power, which means that this is a white life gain aggro attack deck that Swords to Plowshares every turn. Look, she costs 7 mana, and I've said mono white getting high mana commanders out there is pretty intense. And I stand by that. I think this is probably going to go in the 99 of decks where you can cheat it out through reanimation or something like that. But if you just hard commit to walling up and trying to get ramp out as much as you can in mono white and getting this out there, oh, Lord help you, you better give her some Swiftfoot boots. But I'll put it up in A tier because if you let her cook, she cooks. She's gonna cook everyone. Oh, Green Goblin. Didn't we have Green Goblin in the last set? Well, I guess Green Goblin's back for more. Or should I say black for more than 4 mana, because it costs 4 mana and 2 of those are black pips. It's got Flying and Menace and it's a 4/4. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you can discard a card. If you do, each opponent has to discard a card as well. It also has a mayhem cost for 5 mana, which means you can cast it from your graveyard if you've discarded a card this turn. Mono black discard commander that flies in the air. Close enough. Welcome back. The guy, the bat one from Ixalan. He's a bat, he flies, and he's in there, and he's back, and he's a bat. More like Green Goblin, bat for more. Alcazat's, applesauce, deepest betrayal. That's who I was talking about. This is like that, and that's fun. This doesn't make bats, though. Yeah, this doesn't make bats. What? Actually, wait, yeah, this is just worse applesauce. Yeah, this is just worse applesauce. C tier, play applesauce. Captain America Skybound. Falling in love. That's a Kanye reference. I shouldn't do that. That's a 3/5 for 5 with flying and vigilance. And it's got battalion, which means that whenever Captain America and 2 other creatures attack together, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on each attacking creature, and those creatures gain indestructible until end of turn. Oh, it's each attacking creature, and all of them get indestructible. Oh, wait, holy that's good. Whoa! Sam Wilson got a good card. Hell yeah, Sam. S tier. Way to go, buddy. Captain America Liberator is a bad name for a Captain America card because America has famously done pretty messed up things in other countries and said, oh, well, we'll be greeted as liberators. Anyway, this is a 5/5 for 5. When it enters, you can search your library for an equipment card. Mana value 3 or less, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Whenever Captain America attacks, for each equipment attached to him, you make a 1/1 soldier token. So you get a bunch of equipment out there. You still got to pay to attach it. That kind of stinks. And then you make a bunch of soldier creature tokens. So you go wide in mono white and you play equipment in mono white. I feel like the mono white stuff in Final Fantasy was a lot better. I mean, this ain't Cloud Midgar Mercenary. Why is Cloud Midgar Mercenary 2 mana? Why is it 3 mana less than this and so much better? C tier. Sorry, Steve. Yeah, you know what, Steve? Maybe you weren't a liberator. Okay, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't F with the sovereignty of other nations, and maybe we should fix the potholes in our roads. Why am I getting flat tires 4 times a year, and we're gonna go and we're gonna invade another country, and we're gonna have money for that? Do you know how expensive that is? Leave them alone. Bushmaster Coiled Henchman doesn't want you to shave. It's a 2 mana 2/1 death touch each other creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. Has death touch. That's not very good. D tier. I'm not giving you another take. Leave the joke in. Tippy Toe. Terrific partner. 4 mana 2/4. If you would create 1 or more tokens, instead create that many tokens plus a food token. This is Peregrine Took again, except this time instead of being able to sacrifice 3 foods to draw a card at the beginning of your end step, if you gained life this turn, you draw a card. I wouldn't run Peregrine Took as my commander. I would run Peregrine Took in the 99 of a token deck, like the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. That is where Tippy Toe is supposed to go. It is supposed to go in the deck of the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. It is not supposed to be its own commander. If you ran it as its own commander, it'd be fine. It'd be worse than Peregrine Took. C tier. Bucky Barnes, Eager Ally. For 2 mana, you get a 2/2. A lot of 2/2s for 2 mana. Vigilance. Whenever he dies, look at the top 4 cards of your library. Then you get an equipment, hero, or soldier card, and you get to put it in your hand. The rest go on the bottom of your library. Do you want to kill your commander for a little card advantage for 3 specific card types? Are you looking for a specific hero while you're fishing? Make that your commander. F. Black Widow Deadly Hunter for 3 mana, 3/3 death touch. Whenever a creature you control with death touch does combat damage to a player, you draw a card and lose 1 life. This is not 1 or more creatures deal combat damage to a player. If you can build up a big board full of death touchers and poke out with 10 death touchers that people don't block because they don't want their permanents to die, you get to draw a lot of cards. Black Widow continuing to overperform. A tier, let's go. Except that one that was a vanilla 2/2. The Amazing Spider Girl, 5 mana, 5/4 web slinging, 3 flying vigilance, so you can get her out faster if you bounce something back to your hand. But is a flying vigilant 5/4 really all that exciting to build around? C tier. Like, that's not bad. Like, Flying Vigilant 5/4 is not bad, but like, do you build a deck around it? It's not very dangerous. Unlike Black Panther, who's the most dangerous. For 3 mana, it's a 3/3. Whenever Black Panther is dealt damage, deals that much damage to any other target. You can also pay 7 mana and put 2 +1/+1 counters on Black Panther. Other creatures you control get +2/+2 until end of turn. Do we still not have a Black Panther with Indestructible? I don't think we do. He's got vibranium armor. It's like the thing. We also still don't have a Black Panther with black in its color identity. And I get that he's like a warrior king, but he also sneaks. Like, he sneaks. You can put black in his color identity. Black in the color identity doesn't mean evil. We just talked about Black Widow, who has black in her color identity. She's nice. I'm too mad. I need to calm down. I've also seen too many Black Panthers. I don't know. B tier. Fine. Carolina Dean, Runaway. For 4 mana, flying, and at the beginning of your first main phase, you get to add Wooburg mana. Can't spend this mana to cast spells from your hand. I think this is a cool Wooburg commander. Wooburg is famously kind of boring and full of slop that just says, boy, do you like a kindred type that we introduced in this set and not want to choose what colors you have? And this one tells you to do something. This one tells you to exile cards or get cards from your graveyard with flashback, or do something that isn't just heroes. Play the heroes, please. So for that alone, S tier. Thank you, Carolina. Astonishing Spider-Man. It's a 4 mana, and it comes right after Big Wheel on the Reddit page, and that matters because this Spider-Man wheels you. It's got reach, and it's a 4/4, and whenever he attacks, you can discard your hand. If you do, you get to draw an amount of cards equal to the number of cards you've discarded this turn. That's pretty cool. It's fun, Wheels. Wheels is fun in Is It? I said that there was other Wheels cards in mono red that I kept in A because they didn't have blue or they didn't have black, which are better colors for wheeling to add to your red. This has 2 colors that you can use with which to wheel. So I gotta say S tier on Astonishing Spider-Man. Bob, Reluctant Hydra Agent. Whenever Bob attacks alone, return him to your hand. If you do, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. He costs 2 mana for 2/2. So you're gonna want to get a Jet Medallion out there if you're going to try and play him every turn so that you can, bounce him back and do that drain thing. But quite honestly, you can kind of only do 2 damage with him per turn to everyone. That's not fast enough to win games. I think it's funny. Don't think it's all that great. I'm going to go with a D tier. Doctor Strange Surgeon. This is just a guy who does surgeries. For 5 mana, he's a 2/5 with lifelink. If you gain life, you gain twice as much life instead. And at the beginning of each combat, if you have at least 10 more life than your starting total, other creatures you control get +2/+2 and vigilance until end of turn. It's kind of a big, wide Sarah Ascendant for your whole board. That's kind of cool. For 5 mana, he doubles your life gain. And if you're playing a life gain deck, having something in the command zone that doubles your life gain, I don't know if we have that. I was ready to dunk on this. I think that's S. I think that's S tier. That's a really good life gain. That's a really good life gain commander. I know 5 mana is a lot, but you can spend the first 4 turns putting out Soul Sisters. Iceman and Fire Star. It's flying whenever you cast a blue spell. You tap up to 1 target creature. Whenever you cast a red spell, you discard a card and draw a card. This is really fun. I think it would work well if you tried to get as many specifically Is It spells as you possibly can, so you get to do both. Whenever you do it, there's no per turn limit to this, so also throw in some nice discard strategies, also throw in some nice tap strategies. I don't think this is going to be like some crazy bracket 5 sweeper. This is the first time I've specified that, so of course I am going to be wrong. But other than that, I think this is a nice solid B tier. Marvel Boy, Novar. That is from the Philadelphia region of Nova. It's a Kree soldier that's a 1/1 for 2. Whenever a creature you control enters, and whenever you activate a power-up ability, you put a +1/+1 counter on Marvel Boy. It doesn't have flying. He's flying in the heart. What the D tier. Hulkling Young Avenger, 4 mana, flying, 4/4. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Hulkling becomes a copy of target creature, except it's a flying 4/4 named Hulkling instead. Hulkling is a shapeshifter. He's a Skrull in the comics. All of the Young Avengers just name themselves after main Avengers, even if their powers have nothing to do with it. Hulkling's a shapeshifter, and that's neat. What does that have to do with the card? I don't know, but you can make copies of things in red. You can copy anything on the board, so if there's a big threatening commander and someone is going to have a good threatening commander. Normally I don't say Steel decks, but yeah, don't Steel decks actually, because you're not going to have any synergy built around the commander. So yeah, C tier. C tier. I got excited and then I didn't. Devil Dinosaur, 4 mana, 4/5/5 with trample, and other dinosaurs you control have +1/+1 and hexproof. Hell yeah. I wish he gave hexproof to himself, but I understand why he doesn't. This is a perfectly fine dinosaur commander. It's probably better in the 99 of dinosaur decks. B tier. Hyperion, Supreme Hero for 7 mana. Mamma mia, this better be pretty good. Flash Flying 7/7. That's pretty good. A source you control would deal damage to you, or a hero you control prevent all but 1 of that damage. Yep, that's pretty darn good. Hyperion is like the Superman of the Marvel universe. Like people say Sentry is, but Sentry is Superman with like a crazy evil version of himself, and Hyperion's just sort of better Superman. That's pretty good. It's pretty expensive though, so it's getting the Captain Marvel discount down to A tier. Immortus, Master of Eternity, is a mana dork in mono blue. That's pretty crazy. You can tap to add a number of blue mana equal to the number of cards you've drawn this turn, but you can only use that to cast non-creature spells. And then there is a power-up ability where each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their library, then draws 7 cards, and you get a +1/+1 on Immortus, Master of Eternity. So I think this probably wants to do Wheels stuff in mono blue. Wheels is fun. It'd be better if it had red, because red also has Wheels support and black also has Wheels support, and mono blue, I feel like Wheels is not good in one color as good as it could be. This could be fine, but I think I would definitely want more colors. So I'm gonna say that's a hot B. Now the Vision's good, Scarlet Witch is good. Put them together, they're great. 4 mana, flying, 3/3. Whenever you cast a spell, get a red mana and put a +1/+1 counter on Vision and Scarlet Witch. This is Bergy, but it flies and it gets more power. I guess it doesn't let you keep the red mana until end of turn, but yeah, no, this is sicko. S tier, this can go absolutely dummy, disgusting hard. S tier for sure. Dr. Doom Unrivaled, where's Reed? He's got lifelink, he's a 4/4 for 4. You can pay 1 and draw a card and lose 1 life. Then if your deck's empty, you win the game. This is a new effect for black. This is something like a Laboratory Maniac or a Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, except it's in black. That's kind of interesting. Black's pretty good at discarding and milling itself. It'd be better if it had blue. And like, hey, Dimir Dr. Doom doesn't sound that crazy, so I don't know. I'm gonna put it in A tier because it'd be better if it had more colors. The Thanoscopter is a 6 mana 5/5 with flying and haste. They did it. They put the Thanoscopter in here. Vehicles can be your commander, so the Thanoscopter can be your commander. Whenever it enters, vehicles you control become creatures until end of turn, and whenever a vehicle does combat damage to a player, you get to draw a card. Colorless vehicles, colorless artifacts, it could go fine. It's getting S tier because it's a meme. If I sit down at a commander table and someone is playing the Thanoscopter, that's like the funniest. The only way it can be funnier is if before the game they say, hey, how does everyone feel about Universes Beyond? So that everyone can say, well, I don't mind as long as it's on theme like with Lord of the Rings or Final Fantasy, but I draw the line at stuff like Marvel. And you say, cool, I'm playing the Thanoscopter. Not saying that's an invalid opinion. It's just like every time I've talked to anyone about Universes Beyond for the past 3 years, they've said that exact opinion. And that's a valid opinion, and a lot of people have it for a reason. But I don't know. Nuance it. Say something a little different. I guess, I don't know. If everybody said like, yeah, I like pizza that, you know what it is? Here's what it is. It's the people who say I like pizza toppings that aren't pineapple. It's like, yeah, a lot of people don't like pineapple on pizza. But you don't have to bring it up every time someone's ordering a pizza. Like, they were gonna just surprise you with pineapple as the only choice. Did you think that was what was really gonna happen? They might order pineapple for themselves and eat pineapple themselves, and it doesn't hurt you at all, okay? They ordered you a cheese, they ordered you a sausage, they ordered you a veggie, they ordered you a Supreme. I need to stop talking about Marvel Commanders. I've talked about so many Marvel Commanders, and I'm okay with it. Arnim Zola, Biofanatic. You can pay 3 mana and tap it to get a 2/1 villain token with Menace. Would I pay 3 mana for a 2/1 villain with Menace in general? No. So why do I want it on my commander, and why do I want my commander tapped? F tier. Black Widow Super Spy 2/1 with Menace. Hey, wait a second. It's a 2/1 with Menace after I said I wouldn't do that, except this has other stuff. When Black Widow does combat damage to a player, that player exiles the top card of their library. Then you can put a +1/+1 counter on Black Widow so she gets bigger, or you can cast that spell they exiled until end of turn, and you can pay mana as though it were mana of any color. I don't like theft commanders because I feel like when you thieve commander, you have to pick one target to thieve from, or if you're picking one person to bully and you're stealing stealing all of their strategy, yes, you will have a strategy that synergizes, but if you're trying to spread the love around and attacking, you know, threats or like doing anything judiciously other than bullying one person, it's not going to work very well. So I'm going to say this is a C tier. It just doesn't quite hit the bullseye, you know? Speaking of, Bullseye Death Dealer. 3 mana for a 2/3. Whenever he enters, you can sacrifice an artifact or discard a card, then he does 2 damage to any target. Later, you can pay 3 mana to tap him to sacrifice an artifact or discard a card to do 2 damage to any target. Look, hitting 2 damage to any target, pretty cool. Lightning Bolt costs 3 mana, this costs 3 mana, this is 1 less damage. You also have to discard a card or sacrifice an artifact. So it's kind of Lightning Bolt on a stick, except it's not because it's worse, and also it has a higher cost. And also it has a higher cost by having another higher cost D tier. I like the flavor of him throwing cards at people though. I've thought that should be like a cool Gambit. You know, he's a Marvel character. I also don't remember if we did Captain America Steve Rogers. If we did, I'm so sorry. 5 mana, 4/4 lifelink. Whenever Captain America attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on another target creature. That creature gains indestructible until end of turn. I feel like this is a worse version of that Falcon one that I think probably cost about the same amount of mana and had flying, which I think is better than lifelink. So I'm going to say C tier. Chase Stein Runaway for 2 mana. You get a 2/2 that you won't use for attacking because you're going to tap it to discard a card and exile the top card of your library. Then you're able to play that card until end of turn. You could build this around discard shenanigans. You could build this around playing from exile shenanigans. You shouldn't do either because there are much better mono red commanders for both. D tier. Cloak and Dagger Intertwined. Are they still broken in Marvel Rivals? I don't know. Haven't played it in a while. 3 mana, Death Touch, and lifelink. In this economy, there's 2 of them. When Cloak and Dagger enter, choose target opponent and up to 1 creature they control. They have to show their hand to everyone, and you can exile a non-land card from their hand, or you can exile that creature. So put this in a Blink deck and you have a big cool removal stick on your Blink deck. Is that good enough for Orzhov Blink? It's fine enough for Orzhov Blink. B tier. Ghost Spectral Saboteur cannot be blocked. It's got flash and it's a 2/2 for 3 mana. That's a really good card. I don't know if it's a commander though. I mean, can't be blocked is good, but you can get can't be blocked for really cheap. We found that out when we built the Kamala Khan deck. So as a commander, I think it's kind of mid. In limited, it's probably pretty good. I'll say C tier. C tier. Hawkeye Young Avenger has reach, and whenever you do non-combat damage to a player or a permanent that player controls, you get to do that much damage plus Hawkeye Young Avenger's power as she, you know, backs up and shoots. Corey, also zoom in on that card. That dog is getting shot in the head. The bullet is going, it's inches away from doming the doggy. Kate, save that dog. Oh, this is a fun way to play Burn. For 4 mana, yeah, it's on brand for Torbrand, and it's Torbrand, but it can scale better. So I'll say A. Hulkling, Burgeoning Bruiser, has Vigilance. No trample on a Hulk, you know I don't like that. And whenever another creature enters, if it has better power or toughness than Hulkling, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on Hulkling. Well, he starts as a 2/3 for 3 mana, which is really bad in green, so I guess the plus side is you can get those +1/+1 counters on there. You can build a bunch of stuff in mono green that gets you more +1/+1 counters. The bad thing is, if you have all that out and you get a +1/+1 counter, you're not getting any more +1/+1 counters because he's gonna be the biggest thing. So I don't know, I don't think it's very good. C tier. Justice Vance Astrovic has flying, and whenever it enters, you return a target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Whenever a non-land permanent is returned to your hand, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on Justice Bieber. 2/2 for 3 mana with flying, and you get some +1/+1 counters. This is not as good of a bounce commander as the frogs from Bloomborough. Those are a lot better, and those are in Simic, which gives you more colors, which gives you more ramp, which gives you more everything. D tier. Madam Mask connives as she enters, and then whenever you draw your second card each turn, you make a 2/1 villain with menace. That's a lot easier to do than Arnim Zola's thing, and it encourages you to draw cards, which is better. This also costs 5 mana, which is kind of a lot. D tier. You can only draw your second card per turn once per turn. So, you know, you gotta figure out how to do that on other people's turns. D tier. That's bad. Molly Hayes is a 3/3 for 3 that you can power up one time. Y'all know I love those power up abilities. Then you get to put 2 +1/+1 counters on her and exile the top card of your library. You can play it until the end of your next turn. Oh boy, I get to impulse draw 1 after paying 6 mana for a 5/5. F Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu. This is 2 mana for a 2/2. You can activate the abilities of creatures you control as though they had haste, instead of just giving creatures you control haste. You can tap it to add 2 mana of any one color and spend that mana only to activate abilities of creatures you control. Boy, that's fine. I wouldn't build around it, probably, so C tier. I would put it in the 99 of something with activated abilities. That's what I'd do. Speed, Young Avenger. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, target creature you control with haste can't be blocked by other creatures unless they have haste if you pay 1 colorless. So it can make itself kind of pseudo-unblockable for 1 colorless after you've cast a non-creature spell, hopefully one that buffs him up, because as it stands, he's a 2/2 for 2, and that's not very much, but he's got haste, so you know. B. Spider-Man to the rescue. Boy, just when I thought there were too many versions of different legendary creatures, here comes Spider-Man to the rescue with the 8th Spider-Man. 3 mana, 3/2, Flash, Vigilance, Reach. That's a lot of good keywords. Whenever he enters, you can have him enter tapped, and then target creature you control gets indestructible until end of turn. So he's kind of like a little heroic intervention that also has Vigilance and Reach, but after that he's just Vigilance and Reach for 3/2. I wouldn't build my commander around it, especially because he's sitting in the command zone. Flash is supposed to be a surprise. You can't really surprise people when he's in your command zone, can you? D tier. Not a bad card for a Selesnya deck. He's not a good commander, which is what we're reviewing. Please remember that. I'm just holding a phone up. My fucking neck hurts. Super Adaptoid. Super Adaptoid's power is equal to the number of legendary creatures you control. Whenever Super Adaptoid enters or attacks, choose another target creature. If that creature has haste, Super Adaptoid doesn't. Put a haste counter on him. Do the same for flying, first strike, double strike, death touch, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, trample, and vigilance. There is a Sultai vampire commander that I don't know the name of, but I thought about doing it for commander I hardly know. The show where I make decks based around unpopular commanders. That was an unpopular commander, and when I built that deck and I tested that deck, I found out why it wasn't built. It's slow and it doesn't have win cons. That was in Sultai. This has access to 0 of those colors. D tier. As a commander, putting it in the 99 would be fine. The Serpent Society, it's got Death Touch, and it's got Ward. You get 5 poison counters, which is so mean. 3 mana, 3/4, that's not a bad rate, and whenever another creature you control with Death Touch dies, each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature of their choice. So you're going to want to make an Aristocrats deck in Golgari and kill a bunch of Death Touchers, or counterpoint, make a Voltron. Make a Voltron and Voltron the Serpent Society up to force people to interact with it and get poison counters. A tier. Either way you build it, it could be fun. And by fun, I mean horrible. But fun. That's fun for people. Okay, I got a cat on me now. Whiplash, Vengeful Engineer. For 1 black, you get a tapped 2/2. Not starting strong. Whenever he attacks, each opponent loses X life, and you gain X life, where X is the number of equipment attached to him. Wait a minute. I think that's kind of neat. For a 1-drop? For a 1-drop, yeah, he enters tapped. Okay, he can't block the turn he comes in. He was going to have Summoning Sickness anyway and couldn't attack. You need to get equipment out to attach to Whiplash. And then you get a bunch of equipment attached to him and you attack, and you get equipment that gives him trample, gives him evasion, gives him flying, puts him in the air, puts him safe so that he can attack safely. I think that's pretty solid. I'll say A tier. Good job. Whiplash, he wants his bird. He wants his bard. Reference to Iron Man 2, everyone's favorite Marvel movie. What is your favorite Marvel movie, by the way? I really wonder, man. Hollywood Hero, 5 mana, 4/4. Flying, each power-up ability can be activated twice. He's got a power-up ability. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on Wonder Man. That power-up ability would get discounted by the 5 mana he came in with. So it would be 2 colorless mana, which means you could pay 2 colorless mana 2 times if he came in and pay a total of 9 mana for a 9/9 with flying. That also lets you do more power-up abilities. I think they're ass. I think power-up abilities are ass. I think they're hot. This makes them okay, but it's only in red, so every other power-up ability can't be in here. C. Yellow Jacket, Heartless Marauder, 2 mana. Flying, 1/2. Whenever another villain you control enters, Yellow Jacket gets +1/+0 and lifelink until end of turn. If you play a lot of villains, you can get that 1 power up to what? Like reasonably? Like 5? Can you get 4 villains out in a turn? I feel like that's generous. That's your plan, a 5/2 with flying? And you cast 5 villains in a turn? D tier. Bartrock the Leaper, 2 mana. 2/2, multi-kicker 2. This guy loves 2s, okay? He's a big fan of Tuesdays. Too fast, too furious. He enters with a +1/+1 counter on him for each time he was kicked. Bartrock the Leaper loves kicking. That's kind of his thing, so the multi-kicker thing. It's kind of like how Chun-Li had multi-kicker. That was a really good, funny card, and I think that that's a really fun Azorius commander. Anyway, we're not talking about that. When Bartrock enters, he does damage equal to his power to up to X targets, where X is the number of times he was kicked. So the number of times you hit multi-kicker to kick more for kicking. His kicks have the power of punches, or the other way around. I don't know. Bartrock the Leaper, that could be fun. You can get a lot of mana in mono red pretty easily and build it up and kick it. Add in something like Repercussion so that whenever a creature takes damage, its controller also takes that damage. So you can have him come in and kick everyone's creatures, and to do that damage, to wipe those creatures off the board, and then also burn face. Get some burn down before you play him. It's kind of a late game commander you want to play. Kind of interesting. A tier. Tri-Sentinel, colorless, 7 for a 7/7 with flying, trample, and menace. When it enters, for each opponent, Tri-Sentinel does 3 damage to target creature that opponent controls. I just mentioned Repercussion as a card that would help you do damage to players as you damage their permanents. You can't have that in this because this is mono nothing. It's mono nothing. It doesn't have a color. Just talked about Repercussion, where you can get damage on players for damaging their permanents, but you can't have that in this deck because this is a colorless deck. D tier. Typhoid Mary, Fractured for 3 mana. Whenever she attacks, you get to choose one at random, or you can choose one without being random if you've discarded a card this turn. The rewards for attacking with your 3/3 with no evasion: drawing 1 card, making a treasure token, or making each opponent lose 2 life while you gain 2 life. That sucks. If you discarded a card, you should get to choose all 3 of those, and then I'd be interested. As it stands, D tier. The Squadron Sinister for 7 mana. You get a 5/5 with flying and haste that gives other villains you control +2/+2 flying and haste. It does not give itself the +2/+2. That is just other villains. You can also pay 5 for it with a mayhem cost. So if it's in your graveyard and you've discarded a card this turn, you can pay 5 for that 5/5 flying haste. It gives your other villains flying and haste. And like, hey, other villains flying and haste 2 +2/+2. That's pretty good, but for 7 mana, not that great. Mayhem, it's hard to get this into your graveyard without getting it onto the board first. You have to put it onto the board, then as you can swing with it, and then if it dies, you can play its mayhem cost, but then the mayhem cost is just like kind of a reward for getting it killed, and ideally you wouldn't get it killed, so you'd have to build your deck around ways to discard cards just for that. I mean, villains connive, I guess. I don't know. See, I'm thinking too much about it. We need to go faster. Titania Proud Pummeler is a 4 mana first striker with 3/3, but she's got melee. Whenever you attack, the creature gets +1/+1 for each opponent you're attacking this turn, so you want to make sure you're attacking all 3 opponents, and then you get +3/+3 and get a 6/6 first striker. Other creatures you control also get melee, so this basically gives everything +3/+3 as long as you're swinging at everyone every turn. It doesn't give them trample, it doesn't give them any form of evasion or getting through, so they'll get chumped, and I don't know, I guess like eventually they'll run out of chumpers, but trample, she's giant. Give her trample. First strike trample, please, or not. C tier. The Puppet Master, whenever you attack, you get to goad target creature an opponent controls, and whenever a goaded creature does combat damage to one of your opponents, you make a treasure token. Attacking in mono red, not hard. 3 mana for a 2/4, it's alright. Goading 1 creature, it's fine. Goad as a whole kind of strategy in mono red is fine. There are better goad commanders, though. I'm gonna go B tier. Living Laser, 5 mana, haste, 4/4 in the air. Whenever it attacks, for each card you've discarded this turn, you make a copy of Living Laser, except it's not legendary, it's tapped and attacking, and it goes away. You gotta exile it at the beginning of your end step. Mono red has multiple combats. So if you get a multiple combat and you've discarded a few cards this turn, that means that Living Legend, all of those copies of Living Legend that entered tapped and attacking, will now exponentially grow every combat, which is kind of disgusting. If you have Sun sundial of the infinite, and you end the turn. You keep those tokens. They don't go anywhere. So now you've got those tokens, and next turn, you'll go exponential on your boys, and you'll just do that over and over and over again. This can be very, very busted, but I feel like it needs to find certain cards to be kind of busted. And, well, no, actually, extra attacks is pretty easy. 5 mana is kind of expensive. Extra combats are kind of expensive. Red's pretty good at getting fast mana. Things like Seething Song and treasure tokens. I'll say A tier. I'll say A tier. I would want it to be Gruul, I think, to get a little more ramp so you could start your strategy faster. This is going to be something that comes on kind of late, and by then your opponents will have a lot of mana. They might be able to counterspell some shit. So I'll say A. I think it's neat. I just don't know if it's like busted. I think it's kind of fair. Ultron Unlimited, flying 2/2. Whenever he attacks, he connives. Whenever a creature you control connives, you can pay 1. If you do, you make a 2/2 robot villain token. Ton of conniving effects in Dimir. Conniving is already pretty good because it's card advantage, so you get a bunch of connivers out there. Save your mana, make a big army of robots. Yeah, I think I like it. I think I like it a lot. S tier. Red Ghost Intangible Genius has Ward 2. It can't be blocked, and whenever you draw your second card each turn, you make a 3/3 red ape villain creature with haste. Blue is pretty good at drawing cards on other people's turn. Presumably that's 4 red green apes. Nope, not green, just red 3/3 apes. That's what I meant to say. Per turn cycle, if you can get a reliable draw engine going so that you can draw on everyone's turn, drawing your second card each turn. It can only happen once per turn though, so you can't really do that much with it. It kind of balances itself. I'll say B. I think it's fine. Killmonger, Ruthless Usurper. I hardly Killmonger, Ruthless Usurp. No, her. Trample. Whenever Killmonger attacks, he gets +1/+0 for each artifact defending player controls. Whenever Killmonger does damage to a player, that player sacrifices an artifact of their choice, and you get a treasure token. For 3 mana, a 3/3 with Trample that is presumably going to get bigger for each Soul Ring and each Arcane Signet. Weirdly, though, this reminds me of the Avalanche of Sector 7, who I built a whole deck around, and that gets +1/+0 for each artifact all of your opponents control. Sorry, correction, its power is equal to the number of artifacts your opponents control, but this is only starts 3 higher, and like every Soul Ring, every Arcane Signet, every Command Sphere, every artifact, if one person at the table is playing artifacts, that's great. And for Killmonger, you have to attack the artifacts player then to get that bonus. Avalanche of Sector 7 is not very good. Probably one of the weaker decks I've built, but I think it's funny, and it really relies on you getting Descent into Avernus out there. So, yeah, honestly, if I don't think that deck's very good, I don't think this deck's very good. D tier. The Still Man, Towering Terror, 3 mana, 4/2 with Reach. Whenever one or more villains you control does combat damage to a player, you get to gain control of a permanent that player controls. You can't sacrifice it, and you keep it until the end of your next turn, not the next end step. So the end of your next turn, you actually get to keep them for quite a while. And this is a nice 3 mana, 4/2. That's not a bad stat. That's not bad stealing. I don't think stealing's a good strategy, but I think B tier. If you're gonna steal, there are worse ways to do it. Abomination World Ravager, very simple. 8 mana, 10/10, Menace, Trample. You gotta block him with 2. Any damage he gets through, gets through. He's also got Mayhem for 5 mana. If you've discarded a card this turn, you get to bring him back, which means you play him, you swing, he dies, you play him again. To kill him, you gotta have Death Touch or 10 power, and 10 power isn't anything to shake a stick at. Plus, he's probably killing those things on the way out. If you just want a simple mono red aggro commander, B tier, this one's all right. Ironmonger, Sadistic Cartoon, Tycoon, whatever, just a normal Tycoon, I think. 3 mana, 2/2 with Flying. Whenever a creature you control connives, you put a +1/+1 counter on each villain, which means that even if you discard a land for that connive trigger, the villain that connived still gets +1/+1 counter, as long as it was a villain. Villains be conniving in mono black, and this would give you a nice wide board of big villains. I think it's boring, but it's effective. A tier. Damocles Base, Sword of Kang, is sort of a commander you can play because it's a vehicle, and legendary vehicles can be your commander. For 5 mana, you get a 5/5 Flying Death Touch, crew 3. You got to tap 3 power worth to crew it. Whenever it does combat damage to a player, they face a villainous choice. Sacrifice a non-token creature, or they lose 2 life, and you draw 2 cards. This isn't the worst vehicle commander out there. It at least gives you options to put 1 color of things in. A lot of the vehicle commanders commanders are colorless. This gives you the option to use black. Black is a good color with a lot of good options. Villainous choices is from Doctor Who. I think there is some support from Doctor Who for villainous choices in mono black, but I think the support for it was fully in Grixis in those Grixis commander precons. So yeah, a mechanic from one set and support for that mechanic from one set from 1/3 of 1/4 of that set. I believe there were 4 commander decks. I don't know. I don't think it's quite there. If villainous choices come back, sure. I know Eggman had a villainous choice. This is the second villainous choice Universes Beyond thing we've gotten since Doctor Who, and actually recently we've gotten quite a few. I think Dr. Eggman was earlier this year. I don't know how time works. It's a flat circle. Anyway, C tier. Helmet Zemo Mastermind. Darth Helmet, more like it. 3 mana 2/2. Whenever he attacks, you can cast a target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard without paying its mana cost if it is less than his power. If you do that, you put a +1/+1 counter on Helmet Zemo. And also, if it would be put into a graveyard, you exile it instead. So you want to play a bunch of small spells that ramp up and draw you cards until you get bigger spells and bigger spells, except the first turn he's a 2/2 and he costs 3 mana. So you got to find someone to swing at who doesn't have 2 power worth of blockers on turn 4. Because, you know, he doesn't have haste. So he's swinging on turn 4 unless he got a Soul Ring or something. You think nobody's going to have 2 power worth of toughness to block? I don't. So I don't think this is very good. I think this is C tier. The Frightful Four are a 4/4 with Menace, and whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, they lose life equal to that spell's mana value. This is just going to be a thing that sits on the board that people hate, and they're going to try and remove it. That's the game you're playing. It's not particularly good, but people will try and treat it like it's good and try to remove it. So I guess if you're trying to bait removal so that other people can win, this is great. If you want to win, it sucks. D tier. Molecule Man. He's the enemy of Triangle Man. 6 mana for there's a fucking hand in front of the toughness in the screenshot. 6 mana for 5 in a hand, whatever. Non-land cards in your hand have Miracle 0. So if they're the first card you drew that turn, you can play them for their miracle cost of 0. Miracle means that it's got to be the first card you drew on a turn in colorless. How hard is it to draw cards on other people's turns? Not actually all that hard. There's a lot of artifacts that let you draw a card at instant speed. Do I need to name all of them for you? No, that's your job. But if I want to do a colorless commander from this set, it'll probably be Molecule Man. I think it's a lot better than Silver Surfer and Galactus. I'll put this up at A tier. I wish it had some colors. Colors are helpful, but as far as colorless commanders goes, this is an interesting strategy that is not just Eldrazi or artifacts. It's using miracles to cheat out big artifacts in Eldrazi. Queen Mother, Ramonda, hi Auntie.
Hey Auntie.
5 mana, 3/5. When she enters, you become the monarch. And as long as you're the monarch, creatures with power 2 or less can't attack you, helping you keep the monarch. For 5 mana is getting the monarch and keeping the monarch from things that are power 2 or less. Any good? Probably not. By the time you're playing a 5 mana commander in mono white, there's going to be flyers. There's going to be tramplers that are big and stompy that get through that aren't power 2 or less. But more importantly, holding the monarch isn't even like good enough to justify building your whole commander around. Now, throw this into a Queen Marchesa deck that's all about the monarch. Yeah, this goes kind of hard. Honestly, wait, no it doesn't. This is F tier. I'm sorry, Auntie. Nakia Wakandan Operative. For 3 mana, you get a 3/3 with reach, and whenever your commander enters, you become the monarch. If Nakia is your commander, it's when Nakia enters, you become the monarch. You can pay 2 and tap her to put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature or vehicle. Activate only as a sorcery. So it's kind of monarchy. I guess it works really, really well with Court of Garenbrig, because that's going to give you +1/+1 counters and double those +1/+1 counters if you can keep the monarchy. It's a slight twist on a +1/+1 counter deck. I'll give it a C tier. M'Baku Jabari Chieftain makes one of your opponents the monarch at the beginning of your end step if there is no monarch, so like literally the first time he comes out. And whenever a creature attacks one of your opponents, if they're attacking the monarch, they get +1/+1 and trample until end of turn. This is not just creatures you control, this is all creatures on the board. So throw out some global boosting effects like Concordant Crossroads to give every creature haste, and Primal Vigor to double the +1/+1 counters that go on creatures. I think you've got a fun group slug commander. Not a very good one though, probably C tier. Yeah, not great. It's not great at getting you back the monarch either. Oh no, it's kind of good at getting you back the monarch because it would give your stuff +1/+1 and trample too. It's just more of an interesting thing than a good thing. Wakabi Shield of the Nation. For 2 mana, you get a 2/3. It's got Vigilance. And whenever you attack with your commander, if you control an artifact with mana value 4 or greater, you get to make a 4/4 Rhino. And the Rhino has Trample. That's not a bad token, and that's not that steep of a cost. If this is your commander, obviously it's when this attacks. This attacking is not very good because it only has 3 toughness. That's really easy to chump and kill. I feel like that's kind of what I've said the whole time. There's a lot of attack triggers for these commanders for potential legendary creatures in the Marvel set that don't give them any sort of evasion, which is just kind of a hard deck to build around because they just kind of get bonked. They'll just get bonked out of the air, or in this case, bonked on the ground. D tier. Bast the Panther Goddess. For 4/4, you get a 4 with Reach, Trample, and Indestructible. It can't attack or block unless you control 3 or more creatures. And whenever you attack, target creature gets +X/+X, where X is the number of creatures you control. Creatures you control not attacking creatures you control. Build a big wide board in Selesnya. Make the creature you target this one, the one that has Trample and Indestructible. And you can kind of just run people over. This is a great go-wide commander for Selesnya. There are a lot of great go-wide commanders for Selesnya, but maybe you like this one because it's a cat. I'm going to go ahead and say A tier for this one. But also, though, this goes hard in Rin and Seri. Very popular deck, so if you play Rin and Seri, put this in your Rin and Seri deck. T'Chaka, Venerable King. A 2-mana 2/2 that is absolutely terrible at being your commander, but is great in the commander format somehow. When he enters, you mill 3 cards, then you can return an artifact or a land from among the milled cards to your hand, and then you can pay 3 to exile him from your graveyard to become the monarch, but you can only activate that if you control your commander. And if he is your commander, you don't get to do that. F tier. Sorry, T'Chaka. Boy, not a lot of good backup commanders here. Though, you know what I will say? I think looking at the full deck list, Okoye should have been the lead for this deck, or they should have given the Okoye effect to T'Challa and maybe given Okoye the T'Challa effect, because the Monarch cards seem the most interesting. This seems the most interesting as a Monarchy deck, and way less interesting as an artifact deck, IMO. Zuri, Warrior of Wakanda, has Trample, and whenever you cast an artifact spell with mana value 4 or greater, you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, including Zuri, and it's got Trample, so the bigger this boy gets, the better it gets, and the more tramply it gets, and you can get a bunch of equipment out and attach it to it, you can play a nice little Voltron game in mono green. B tier, it's fine. We have 12 more cards. I could only find images of them on one giant JPEG. These are the scene box cards that are new. Iron Man Futurist Paragon is a 5/5 with flying that makes one other artifact or creature you control a 5/5 artifact with flying at the beginning of combat for 6 mana. That's slow, and there's more interesting Iron Mans. This is probably number 7 of 12 Iron Mans, I would say. C tier. Hulk is always angry. I can relate. For 7 mana, he's a 9/9 with Trample, and he destroys all artifacts. Then he attacks every turn if able. Yeah, a 9/9 with Trample? I sure hope he does. He is basically an overloaded Vandal Blast that hits like a truck. B tier. Thor continues to have pretty cool cards, even though this one's called Thor Guardian of Midcard. For 5 mana, you get a flyer, and whenever he does combat damage to a player, you get to exile that many cards off the top of your library, and you can play those cards this turn. Save your mana for post-combat. Impulse Drawing as a red deck. Y'all know I like it. A tier. Black Widow Intel Expert for 3 mana. You get a 3/3 with First Strike. It also encourages spousal abuse. Whenever it does combat damage to another player, you and that player each draw 2 cards. If you have Wedding Ring on the board, when you draw those cards, the opponent will draw even more cards because you hit your spouse. I don't have anything to say about that. It's just weird that that's what the Black Widow card, I guess it encourages you to make yourself a widow. C tier. I think the Boros one is better. I also think there should be a Mardu one because there's Black Widows, there's Red Black Widows, and there's White Black Widows. If you're gonna print 7 versions of the same character across 3 different colors, you should at least put one master version of the character that works with all of those strategies in the 3 colors they are. Seems pretty obvious, right? Captain America Unbowed. What, does he not have a bow and cat ears like he's supposed to? 3 mana, 3/4 flash. When he enters, heroes and soldiers you control are indestructible until end of turn 1 time. He's flawless maneuver 1 time. D tier. Hawkeye Trick Shot. Apparently does a trick shot as he enters and then does nothing. First strike reach, 3-4. When he or another hero enters, they do damage equal to the number of heroes you control to another target. Do we have enough hero support? Ooh, I love my heroes in every color as long as it's Jeskai. And in this time, it's mono red. This is mono red, the hero kindred. There are enough in legendary creatures that it probably works fine. B tier. But the heroes weren't the only ones who got a scene box. The villains did too. Ultron, Machine Overlord, flying. Other robots and constructs you control get +2/+2, and he's a 4/4, 4/5. There's a lot of constructs in colorless. I'm sure it'd be fine, but I'm sure there's a lot more interesting ones. C tier. Thanos, Death's Consort, is Super Shredder, but instead of Menace, it has Lifelink, and it costs 2 more mana for a 3/3. Would I trade Menace for Lifelink on my Super Shredder? No. Would I do that to get +2 toughness and spend 2 more mana? No. D tier. MODOK, Evil Intellect, 5 mana, 3/5. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, target opponent sacrifices a non-token creature of their choice. You gotta set up ways to draw on other people's turns. That's not that hard. Then you can make people sacrifice non-token creatures and hit them with a 3/5 flying in the air. You only have to hit them 14 times to kill them. See you on turn 19. D. Absorbing Man and Titania for 5 mana. You can double all damage creatures you control deal with a 4/5, so it is more like an 8/5. It hits like an 8/5. It doesn't have trample. Where's the trample? C tier. Abomination Irradiated Brute for 4 mana. You get a 4/4 with trample, and whenever a gamma or villain creature you control does combat damage to a player, you put that many +1/+1 counters on Abomination. This is your gamma support, but no red for the gamma creatures that had red. If that matters, I don't think it really does. If you really like gamma and you want to run Gamma Kindred, this is probably the best Gamma Kindred. It's still pretty boring, B tier. And we have 3 more cards after this. Loki, God of Lies, 3 mana, 3/3. Whenever you cast a spell that targets a single creature, you gain control of that creature until end of turn. It gains haste until end of turn. There is nothing here that says you can't sacrifice it, which means you can set up sacrifice outlets and then just have a bunch of quick little instants that say target creature on them, build them up, hit people with their own creatures, and then throw them in a trash compactor. I kind of like this one. For 3 mana, this ain't bad. A tier. And when I said we had 3 more cards, I was the Lord of Lies. I was Loki. I was the trickster prankster. The video is over now, but one more time. Just one more time. For all this, for all these marbles, for all the time we took on this one, please like the video, please subscribe to the channel, and please leave a little comment telling me which of your favorite Marvel cards I did dirty. And also tell me that you hate all of the Marvel cards if you want to tell me that too, and that I shouldn't even be talking about this set. I'm sure that's what some of you want to say, and you can say it as long as you say it in our comment section. Please, that would help us a lot. I'm so tired. Bye.